Chapter 241 Great Swallowing. Chen Zhang's complexion sank. He knew these people hated him, and they would certainly seize the opportunity to kill him, which made him extremely furious. What do you want to do? Are you forgetting I've saved you before? Chen Zhang stood up and clenched the hilt of the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade. His complexion turned even more gloomier. Although his true chi was thin, the monstrous slaughter chi, which was hidden in his slaughtering heart, became uncontrollable and was completely released due to his anger. It caused those disciples of the Proud Sword sect and the Beast Martial sect to halt their footsteps. So what, Chen Zhang, you, dying in my hands is your blessing. At least you'll not be eaten by those guys. Gan Zhujian laughed and said. He was currently still uncertain how much of Chen Zhang's strength was remaining. However, seeing Chen Zhang's haggard complexion, he knew that Chen Zhang had suffered serious injuries. You forgot what my dean had said. If you took action against me, then your sect would be destroyed by the extreme martial sect. Chen Zhang coldly shouted as he frowned. A blade-like sharp glint flashed through his eyes, making Gan Zhujian and the others somewhat hesitant. So long as no one from us speak about it, who will know we have killed you? Gan Zhujian shouted, don't be afraid of him, he is just putting on airs. He is seriously injured. Everyone, let's kill him together, then we will divide his treasure. The wealth on Chen Zhang was also an attraction to many, and many people knew he was overflowing with riches. Chen Zhang, while looking at the greedy look on their faces, felt incomparably cold. His desire to kill them was soaring in his heart. Attack! Gan Zhujian shouted as he rushed greedily towards Chen Zhang. He knew that the blade in Chen Zhang's hand was very excellent. With a casual wave, it actually had cut off his proud spirit weapon. Those 10 men rushed over to Chen Zhang, including 2 5th-level true martial realm martial artists. As for the rest of them, they were either in the 3rd level or 4th level of the true martial realm. Their overall strength could be described as good, and they originally believed that even if Chen Zhang wasn't injured, all of them together would be able to defeat Chen Zhang. It was just that they would need to pay a bigger price. Ha ha! Suddenly, Chen Zhang burst out into an insane laughter, which made Gan Zhujian and the others to suddenly halt their steps. Chen Zhang's laughter was hair-raising, and they could not help but feel jittery as a shiver ran down their spine. Chen Zhang's insane laughter was like that of a devil, drowning their hearts in fear. Ungrateful things, what's the difference between those devils and you? Chen Zhang's countenance turned incomparably hideous. He stared at them with bloodshot and wide-open eyes as his voice turned completely malevolent. Don't be afraid, he is seriously injured. Just as Gan Zhujian's voice fell, a white light suddenly flashed from Chen Zhang's arm. Drawing up the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade from the ground, he fiercely brandished it horizontally towards those 10 figures not so far away. A white powerful chi from the huge blade shot out and transformed into a huge white semicircle, which passed across those 10 figures. In the next moment, Gan Zhujian and the others suddenly spat out blood and fell down on the ground one by one. All of them had a look of horror, fear and disbelief. A moment ago, Chen Zhang had relied on Long Shui, and that was equivalent to one shot of Long Shui's complete strength. It was also his hidden card, and unless it was an extremely dire situation, he would never use it. Long Shui's true chi was very mysterious. When it permeated into their body, it destroyed their viscera from the inside. Haha, didn't you want to kill me? Why are all of you lying on the ground? Chen Zhang laughed and said. From his body, more and more black chi surged out, and a bizarre power enveloped Gan Zhujian and the others. You, what are you going to do? Gan Zhujian screamed. All of them had suffered serious injuries, but the true chi within their body was still there. They could still attack, however, they felt as though their true chi was out of control, hastily leaving their body. Chen Zhang's complexion turned gloomy. Black chi emerged from his eyes. He had casted the engulfing devil technique, causing the black chi to jump and soar while absorbing the other's true chi. It was the 2nd level of the engulfing devil technique, and now there was no need for him to touch his target's body. He could directly engulf his opponent's true chi, however, the premise was that the other party was injured. True chi. The true chi within my body is leaving me. A man shouted in shock, before he suddenly let out a shriek as a bright fog broke out from his body and drifted over to Chen Zhang. The others were all experiencing the same. The true chi within their respective body was flowing out and fluttering towards Chen Zhang, assimilating into Chen Zhang's body as he continued to spew out those black chi. Devil, Chen Zhang, you big devil. You are actually using this kind of vicious devil technique on us. The righteous sects will not let you go. Too long, I saved you, yet not only were you ungratified, you even took advantage of my injury to kill me. How can you still think yourself as righteous sect's people? What's the difference between how you act and the devil's? I just want you to pay blood with blood, that's all. Chen Shang glared at that proud sword sect disciple before two beams fiercely shot out from his eyes, penetrating that man's head to death. This was the penetrating heart devil eye, and it was also Chen Zhang's first time using it on a human. A martial skill which could engulf others' true qi, not to mention those from the devil path, even among the righteous path, it was a skill sought after. Gan Jujian clenched his teeth as he glared at Chen Shang, his heart was filled with regret. Originally, there was no conflict between him and Chen Shang, and moreover, Chen Shang had even given him a chance last time. However, because of his arrogance, his fate had suddenly turned for the worst. Not long ago, Chen Shang had saved them, and Chen Shang had even blocked the black-armored crocodile so that they could escape, making him suffer some injuries. When Chen Shang needed help the most, they actually did even worse than pigs and dogs, they actually wanted to kill Chen Shang and seize his treasure. In truth, they were the devils. Gan Jujian felt the true qi in his body was slowly disappearing. With each passing moment, he felt increasingly regretful. If they were not hostile to Chen Shang from the beginning, then they could have become friends with Chen Shang. However, in this world, there was no dan for regret. Chen Shang, you waste, you bastard. A beast martial sect's disciple cursed, but before he could even finish with his cursing, two beams shot out from Chen Zhang's eyes and penetrated his head. Very quickly, the pure and vigorous true qi from those 10 disciples were absorbed by Chen Shang. However, in Chen Zhang's opinion, their true qi had too much impurities, so he still needed to refine it. But before it, he had to first slaughter all of them. Gan Jujian, the outstanding young disciple of the proud sword sect, you, dying in my hands, can be counted as your blessing. Chen Shang, seeing Gan Jujian's face which was covered in fear and remorse, mercilessly waved the azure dragon slaughtering devil in his hand, beheading Gan Jujian. Seeing the blood spilled, all those people lying on the ground were frightened. They knew that the next one to die would be them. Feeling that death was so close, they felt nauseous. Only now did they knew how precious life was. All of them had become true martial realm martial artists, many mortals, in their eyes, were akin to ordinary existence. But at this moment, all of them were no different from those mortals, they were inevitably going to die. One by one Chen Shang beheaded them with the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade. Whenever the blade in his hand fall, a head would be separated from the body. Whenever blood violently shed, those disciples who were still breathing would feel their heart stop as endless fear engulfed their body. The sky was completely dark, while the ground of the ghastly forest was littered with corpses. Blood was dripping from the blade in Chen Zhang's hand, as if an execution from hell had just occurred. Chen Shang heaved a long sigh and released some flames. After burning off the corpses, he quickly left, seeking for a place to refine the true qi he had absorbed. Chapter 242, 9-Turn Dragon God Technique. Chapter 242 9-Turn Dragon God Technique. This time, he had engulfed the true qi of many people, and among them, there were 2 from 5th level of the true martial realm. It was the first time Chen Shang had engulfed so much at once, and at this point, his entire body was bearing the brunt of the tyrannical true qi. With his huge divine sense, he could still suppress it, but he must quickly refine it, otherwise, it would be dangerous. Chen Shang was now in the 2nd level of the immortal and devil body and was also cultivating Shinto, that was why his overall strength was so strong. Otherwise, Bai Yu, a moment ago, would have prevented Chen Shang from engulfing their true qi. Furthermore, it was fortunate that the ones he had engulfed were righteous people. Although their true qi was tyrannical, compared to devil sect disciples, it could be considered modest. If you want to cultivate Shinto, don't use the Tai Chi subduing dragon exercise to cultivate the divine sense. Use the 9-Turn Dragon God technique. Long Shui said, there is a lot of true qi left within your body, you have enough to cultivate your divine sense. Chen Shang was hiding within the hollow of a tree while operating the Tai Chi subduing dragon exercise to refine the true qi he had engulfed. Hearing Long Shui's words, he hastily asked, is this 9-Turn Dragon God technique powerful or not? Nonsense, of course it is formidable. Only dragons from our imperial dragon family know how to cultivate it. The Dragon Slayer divine martial skill are many, but only 10 of them can be considered the strongest. Your Tai Chi subduing dragon exercise is one of them, and this 9-Turn Dragon God technique is the main exercise of our imperial dragon family. We use it to cultivate Shinto. Long Shui, seeing someone was suspicious of her Imperial Dragon family's exercise, proudly explained. Chen Shang was elated in his heart. You little girl, why have you not given it to me early on? Fart, do you think this 9-turn dragon god technique can be casually passed on to you? Only after considering for a long time did I decided to pass on the contents of the first turn. But just from first turn, you can cultivate till the Nirvana realm. Long Shui said in a tender voice. She had spent some time with Chen Shang, and although she often bickered with him, she already knew his character. Moreover, she also had some feelings for Chen Shang. By passing the 9-turn dragon god technique to you, I'm violating the rules of the Imperial Dragon family. If they came to know it, I'll be in trouble. Long Shui exhorted, that's why not in a million chance could you let any other dragon know. Rest assured, I understand. Chen Shang solemnly said, if because of this matter you get punished, I'll definitely not let those dragons succeed. Humph, even though you cultivate powerful dragon slayer divine martial skill, you are looking down too much on my Imperial Dragon family. Although her mouth said so, in her heart, Long Shui felt sweet. Someone concerned about her made her feel very warm. After a short while, in Chen Zhang's mind, there was now a lot of information. The 9-turn dragon god technique's content was too much. Just the first turn was already unbearable. Fortunately, it was transferred through divine sense, otherwise God knows when he would be finished learning it. Dragon god. It refers to the dragon cultivating Shinto, eventually becoming a powerful god. The exercise of cultivating Shinto is very profound. Under the heaven, perhaps only dragons, this kind of life form, could create this kind of powerful and profound exercise. Chen Shang very quickly comprehended it, and in accordance with the cultivation method, he directly operated the true qi within his body. A large amount of true qi in his body circulated in all his limbs and bones, washing his meridians, bones and muscles, making his body stronger. At the same time, it produced pure true qi and spiritual power. The true qi entered his dantian, while the spiritual power entered his consciousness. Operating the 9-turn dragon god technique and the Tai Chi subduing dragon exercise at the same time didn't cause any conflict, that was why the refinement of those impure true qi became very quick. This made him feel as if he was flying, especially when looking at the divine soul growing in his consciousness, he felt very comfortable. Chen Shang secretly decided that after he refined all the engulfed true qi, he would give Long Shui some true elemental dance. After all, she sacrificed so much for him, and against the rules of her clan, she even passed him the powerful 9-turn dragon god technique. 10 days passed, and in Chen Zhang's dantian, 250 true elemental grains were now illuminated. One must know that the more true elemental grains he lit up, the difficulty to lit up more would increase. It would require even more true qi to be compressed in order to illuminate these true elemental grains. This would also make his true qi incomparably vigorous. He had engulfed 10 people's true qi, and after refining the dregs in these true qis, the leftover true qi was just ordinary. After its integration, Chen Shang made continuous breakthrough and finally strided into the 5th level of the true martial realm. You brat, it's best that you don't get infatuated with this way of increasing your strength. Su Meiyao softly snorted and said. Yes, if this continues, your foundation would become unstable, and it will greatly affect your future. Bai Yu said. Chen Shang nodded his head. In cultivation, one most steadily advance. One was required to let some true qi precipitate, and only under repeated use of this true qi could they solidify their foundation. Otherwise, in the future, his true qi would be very weak. A lot of sludge overflowed from his body. After quickly taking a bath, gave Long Shui 500 true elemental dance, made Long Shui sweetly smile again and again. If I encounter the black-armored crocodile again, father will absolutely not get so battered and exhausted again. Chen Shang, while clutching the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, felt the rise of heroic spirit in his heart. He could not wait to find a black-armored crocodile and try his strength again. However, he had more important things to do. Because of cultivating for a few days, he had already been delayed for some time. He still need to find the disciples of the true martial sect, the Lotus Island and the Danxiang Taoyuan to warn them about the Devil Path sect's conspiracy. At the same time, he also need to ask them to converge with everybody in order to deal with the Devil sect disciples. Chen Shang looked all around for a while, walking about in a circle. Very soon he quickly found the way to the next ambush point. He immediately started running. He had been cultivating for a few days, and in these few days, many things could have happened. He ran for a while before he saw many traces on the ground and the trunk of some trees. These are of black wolves. And there are also some human footprints. Chen Shang, while observing the ground, speculated that someone was attacked by a pack of wolves. However, during the fight, they could only escape, and these black wolves were in hot pursuit. Looking at the footprints on the ground, Chen Zhang's complexion changed. The footprints of these wolves seemed to be a bit bigger, furthermore, so many of them were chasing at the same time. It seems that they are not being manipulated. Are they devil beasts themselves? The true devil beasts were much more formidable than those controlled by a puppeteer. Chen Shang immediately gave chase along the footprints. He knew that it was not far away from the ambush point. Before, with his battle against the black-armored crocodile, they had caused a huge ruckus, definitely disturbing the devil sect disciples at the nearest ambush point. He believed that the next ambush point would not have any devil sect disciples. Following those footprints, Chen Shang, in his heart, was secretly surprised. There were some scratches on many trees in the front, and there were also a few trees which had been bitten off. According to his estimation, those being hunted were hiding in the trees. However, these wolves very quickly bitten off these trees. At most, 10 puppets can attack together. However, they will not be so fierce. But these true devil beasts are so frightening, and they are also in such a large number. Chen Shang was secretly worried. Currently, he had already arrived at this kind of ghastly place, and of course, many of those devil beasts were much more powerful. He did not hope to see any righteous disciples dead. If he could save them, then he would definitely do his utmost to save them. He quickened his pace, and soon he saw blood on the ground. This kind of blood was certainly from those devil beasts, because it was different with human blood. Human blood would quickly dry up, but the devil beast's blood would remain sticky on the ground. "Junior brother, be careful." A girl's shout came, which was then followed by a sound of battle. Chen Shang immediately disappeared and rushed ahead with his fastest speed. Chapter 243, Red Wolves. Chapter 243 Red Wolves. It was originally a forest. However, in front of him there was a very open space, where one could see many tree roots, but no trees could be seen whatsoever. At that moment, Chen Shang could see many wolves with completely red bodies gnawing on some trees while besieging 4 people. These red wolves were as big as adult cows, with a black vertical line in between their eyebrows, and 2 huge sharp red teeth protruding from their mouth, making them seem extremely terrifying. These red wolves' bodies were as if they had been soaked in blood, exuding a nauseating stench. The noxious devil chi they were releasing was nothing Chen Shang had encountered before. It was even richer than the black wolves from before. "It's the disciples of the true martial sect, 3 male and a female." Chen Shang muttered. Those 3 men looked very handsome, while the female was extremely beautiful and moving. However, all of them were in a very sorry state at the moment. Their whole bodies were covered in black blood, while one man among them had his long sword broken. Before, he had saved disciples of the beast martial sect and the proud sword sect, and they repaid him by trying to kill him. Now he was considering whether he should save these people or not. Save them. In any case, it's just a matter of little effort for you. Furthermore, with your current strength, there is no need to be afraid of their retaliation. If they want to move against you, then you don't need to be polite either. Su Meiyao said. Chen Shang lightly sighed before taking out the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade. He jumped over and landed in front of those 4. Chen Shang. All 4 of them suddenly exclaimed together in unison while retreating 2 steps back. Their faces were now filled with panic. Chen Shang looked at them, slightly smiled and said, "Don't worry, I didn't come to kill you." These true martial sect's disciples were not like the beast martial sect and the proud sword sect. From the expression in their eyes, Chen Shang could determine that these 4 people were not the ones who could not wait to kill him. What was totally out of Chen Zhang's expectation was that, among these 4, the strongest was the girl who was just at the 3rd level of the true martial realm. The other 3 were all in the 1st level of the true martial realm, and it was no wonder to Chen Shang that they would be hunted down till here. But seeing that they could ran so far was also not bad. "Is there no 5th level true martial realm disciple left in your true martial sect?" Chen Shang asked with a frown. Although he had killed a lot of true martial sect disciples, the true martial sect could not have such little strength. "We have, but the dean felt that we are useless, so he made us come here." The girl indignantly spoke. Her gaunt beautiful face was filled with anger and helplessness. The 3 men were also the same. At this point, the pack of red wolves swooped over. Chen Shang fiercely turned around and waved his blade towards those wolves. Numerous azure lightning from the blade's tip madly surged out, and one after another, as if those lightning transformed into a giant blade, ruthlessly falling down on the ground, killing a greater part of the red wolves. Although these red wolves were powerful, when facing Chen Shang with the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade in his hand, they were not worth a straw. With one strike, Chen Shang had beheaded more than 100. On the count of 3, jump with all of your power, leave the ground. Chen Shang hastily shouted, 1, 2, 3, jump. Although the 4 true martial sect's disciples didn't know what Chen Shang was planning on doing, they still jumped up. Chen Shang also jumped up with them as the red wolves surrounding them swarmed and swooped over. As he jumped into the air, a dazzling azure aura from Chen Zhang's palm suddenly flowed out. With a thunderous roar, he smacked a palm towards the ground. Through the majestic and powerful azure dragon True Qi, a huge azure palm appeared, and like a storm, the soaring True Qi plundered through all 4 directions as the huge palm fiercely landed on the ground. Boom! A loud explosion occurred. It was so loud that it made everyone's ear ache. The explosive sound echoed throughout the surroundings, while from below, the miserable howls of wolves soon followed. Many crevices appeared on the ground. The fierce tremor had made the giant trees in the greater part of forest to collapse in the blink of an eye. The ground was like a tide rolling through with a vast momentum. What had just happened was rather soul-stirring, sending shivers down the heart of those 4 disciples from the true martial sect. It was pretty hard for them to believe what had just happened. When they landed from the sky, they landed on top of a just created little mound. Majority of those red wolves were now buried in the soil. Thanks a lot for saving us. After the girl took a deep breath, she cupped her fist and spoke with a gratified tone. Her eyes were filled with respect. As for the other 3, they not only repeatedly thanked Chen Shang, they also had a look of worship. There was not much difference between their age and Chen Shang, and in fact, Chen Shang was even a little younger than them, but he was already so powerful. With just a palm, he wiped out those red wolves, which almost killed their group, in one fell swoop. This kind of strong martial artist was truly worthy of their respect. Although Chen Shang and the true martial sect were enemies, Chen Shang not only did not kill them, he had even saved them. This kind of chivalrous behavior made it harder for them to hate him. Not to mention that from the beginning, there was no direct hatred between them and Chen Shang. First leave here, Chen Shang smiled and said, leading the group. On one side, Chen Shang was walking, while on the other, he warned them about the conspiracy of the Devil Path sects, and this scared the hell out of them. They completely believed Chen Zhang's words. At this time, Chen Shang came to know that all 4 of them didn't have any status in their sect. Although they were in the true martial realm at such a young age, the true martial sect's dean was worried about the death of some disciples with high potential. That was why he elected to just send these 4. You don't need to be worried. As long as we work together, we would eventually walk out alive from here. Chen Shang comforted them. All of their faces were filled with sadness, because they knew they were the weakest in here, while the lineup of the other sects was rather strong. Both the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire and the Icewind Valley had sent their strongest disciples. Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulin, these kind of talented and outstanding girls were sent. The extreme martial sect had also sent 10, and there was no need to question Chen Zhang's strength. Thanks a lot, Chen Shang. The girl thanked in a light tone. Chen Shang, I didn't expect your character to be so good. It is way different from what those elders told us, a heinous devil beyond redemption. A slightly young boy laughed and said. As long as no one attacked me, I will not attack them either. Liao Xiaoyun from your true martial sect first took action against me and almost killed me. Because of my bounty, the others also came to attack me. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother with them. Chen Shang said. All of these weirdos are too greedy and too arrogant, otherwise, they will not create so much noise. A man said. Don't say this anywhere else. After you return to the true martial sect, it is best that you don't mention that I have saved you. It's for the better if none of you talk about it, otherwise, your dean or Liao Xiaoyun, both of them would become even more hostile to you. Chen Shang smiled and said. No, I want to speak. As long as I leave here in one piece, I'll separate myself from the true martial sect. They don't look at as a human, not even a little bit. The girl coldly harumphed. This kind of personality made Chen Shang greatly appreciate her. One by one, the 3 men also voiced out their thoughts. The true marital sect had sent them here to die, which made them hold a grudge in their heart. Chen Shang's eyes lit up. laughed and said, "If you have no place to go after leaving the true martial sect, you can always come find me in the extreme martial sect." Chapter 244, Wei Hong Tao. Chapter 244 Wei Hong Dao. TLN. This chapter is sponsored by Rafal Brodziak and Giannis Makri. Thanks for your support. Chen Shang was drawing them in. Those 4 true martial sect disciples could also see that clearly. However, they thought Chen Shang was going to make them enter the extreme martial sect, which was impossible in the Chenwu mainland. Once someone entered a sect, they could never enter another sect ever again. Even if they left, the other sect would still not receive them. Chen Shang told them the route back. He had left many marks along the way as he was traveling. As long as those marks were found, one could very easily reach the outermost periphery simply by backtracking these marks, then they could converge with disciples of the other sects. Chen Shang still had some leftover business here. After all, he still had not found the disciples from Lotus Island or Danxiang Taoyuan. Danxiang Taoyuan and the extreme martial sect had pretty good relations, so Chen Shang did not need to worry about getting attacked by them. As for the Lotus Island, Chen Shang had yet to come in contact with them. Although Lotus Island was located near the shore, they were in charge of a greater portion of the Chenwu mainland, as such they were also one of the relatively stronger forces. After the true martial sect's disciples left, Chen Shang continued on his journey to the next known ambush point, to see if he could find the disciples of Danxiang Taoyuan and Lotus Island. Just as Chen Shang entered the ghastly forest, his hair stood up on its ends. The noxious aura surrounding them was extremely dense, accompanied by an extremely nauseating stench. Suddenly, a red aura flashed through the dark forest. Chen Shang felt a cold shiver run down his spine before he hastily reacted by jumping into the air. He was drenched in cold sweat as he saw the ground he stood on a moment ago replaced with a deep gully dug out by that red aura. If that attack had landed on him, the aftermath would have been disastrous. Both the speed and strength from that earlier blow was quite frightening. However, the most crucial factor was its concealing ability. If not for Chen Shang having gone through countless fights, allowing his instincts to help him react in a split second, he would have been killed. Ha ha! With utter astonishment, Chen Shang suddenly heard a very sharp ear-piercing laughter that could cause anyone who heard it have goosebumps. After Chen Shang landed on the ground, he immediately took out the Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade. At this moment, that blood-red aura flashed once again. Chen Shang had already made preparations to deal with any kind of attack with his blade. Using the huge body of the blade, Chen Shang resisted the powerful oncoming attack. It came from a very long sword, completely blood-red, glistening in a crimson light. The person holding the sword surprised Chen Shang even more. It was a young man with shoulder-length hair, which was also blood-red. Even his eyes were bloodshot and he seemed like a very bizarre and frightening monster. The young man suddenly opened his mouth and a very long red tongue stretched out. He licked that blood-red long sword, making the scene look even more hair-raising and bizarre. Chen Shang retreated a few steps before he coldly asked, "Who are you?" He was sure this guy was a disciple of a devil sect. Moreover, he was definitely very strong. Tisk tisk. The red-haired man shook his head and sneered, "You are Chen Shang, the top youngest martial artist of the extreme martial sect, with name reverberating like thunder. I had not thought you were so ignorant. You really don't know who I am." Chen Shang snorted, said, "I don't know exactly who you are, but you're definitely a disciple of a devil path sect. That being the case, I'll introduce myself so that you can die knowing who's responsible for your death. However, it seems my reputation is not widespread. You actually don't know who I am." The red-haired man suddenly put on a red gown and proudly said, "I'm Wei Hongdao of the Blood Refining Clan." Chen Shang frowned. The Blood Refining Clan was one of the strongest among the 5 major devil sects. He had indeed heard a little about Wu Hongdao. His age was similar to Chen Zhang's and both of them possessed frightening strength at such a young age along with stunning talent. However, in light of their reputations, Wei Hongdao and Chen Shang were miles apart. Wei Hongdao was truly a devil. He specifically slaughtered civilians in cold blood. Burning and looting were just some of his deeds. He had committed many unimaginable crimes. "You came here to die." Chen Shang squinted his eyes. Killing this kind of devil would allow his state of mind to reach sublimation. He would never have any scruples to attack people like Wei Hongdao. Not to mention the fact that Chen Shang had just strided into the 5th level of the true martial realm, and had been worried he would have no opportunity to try out his newfound strength. The Devil Path sect actually sent a disciple with such high potential into this battle. It was totally out of Chen Zhang's expectations. One must know, there were not that many true martial realm martial artists in the Devil Path sects, it was much less than the righteous sects. As for outstanding disciples, they were even fewer. Humph, you really have a big mouth. Don't think with your little reputation, you have the right to be arrogant in front of me. Aren't you just lucky, and managed to create some large commotion just because of fortunate opportunities? Let me tell you, not to mention you with this sort of strength, even a 9th level true martial realm martial artist would die by my hands. Wei Hongdao furiously said, while he swiftly and violently brandished his blade very fast. It was like a red lightning bolt suddenly shot towards Chen Shang. In the case that Chen Shang was prepared, this kind of speed was still very easy to deal with, moreover he had already been vigilant. When Wei Hongdao attacked, Chen Shang also brandished his Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade at the same time. With an azure flash, the two weapons collided together. Chi waves burst forth one after the other from the impact as a storm burst forth that even made the trees around them smashed into mere splinters in the blink of an eye. Even while just chatting, a casual wave of their weapons could result in such a frightening shockwave. It even seemed that their strength was equal. The Blood Refining clan was a Devil Path sect which made people terror-stricken just from hearing their name because of their sect's Blood Refining Great Devil technique, which was simply cultivation using blood. Under this technique, the cultivator required a vast amount of blood during the cultivation, while crystal stones were thrown in the sea of blood. The cultivator immersed themselves within this concoction. This way of cultivation was already very nauseating. However, what made everyone intolerable of this method of cultivation was that all the blood was obtained through killing powerless mortals in order to procure that vast amount of blood quickly. It was also this reason that no members of the righteous sects could allow the Devil Path sects to grow, otherwise the majority of the civilians from the Chenwu mainland would become nothing more than a disposable resource for the cultivation of the Devil Path sects. Wei Hongdao's feet moved a bit but he firmly held his ground. Although his face was unspeakably dignified, it was also a bit red. From Chen Zhang's blow, Wei Hongdao could roughly gauge his opponent's strength, which was a lot stronger than the rumor had stated. It was said that Chen Shang was only in the 2nd level of the true martial realm, and by relying on mysterious martial skills and his powerful blade, his true strength would be able to contend with someone in the 5th level of the true martial realm. Of course, it also mentioned that Chen Shang had another status that Wei Hongdao couldn't overlook. As an alchemist, Chen Shang could eat his own dans, which was a very easy and smooth course for cultivation. The true qi gained would be even more rich and the advancement of cultivation was definitely not slow. Chen Shang had a look of ease on his face. Although Wei Hongdao was in the 5th level of the true martial realm and the true qi in his body was very tyrannical, it was not vigorous enough. The explosive force was strong but it was not sustainable. After both of them faced each other's strike, they were silent for a moment before attacking once again. This time, it was actually Chen Shang who took action first. However, just as he started his attack, Wei Hongdao immediately retaliated. The Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade flashed towards Wei Hongdao within the blink of an eye. An increasingly dense azure aura and incomparably fierce imposing atmosphere weighed down on him as the cleaving strike seemed to split heaven and earth apart. Weighing 100,000 jins, the blow still cleaved like lightning and instantly struck down with an imposing heaven-shocking aura. At the same time the blade was drawn, it made a clean sweep of everything around them. Before it, the dark clouds in the sky trundled, the fierce wind erupted in between the mountains. This earth-shattering and nature-altering strike shocked Wei Hongdao to no end. He suddenly felt like his attempt at a counterattack was very, very small and insignificant. Chapter 245, Finally Gathered. Chapter 245 Finally Gathered. TLN. This chapter is sponsored by Giannis Mockery. Thanks for your support. Originally, Wei Hongdao thought that his strength was equal or even beyond Chen Zhang's by a wide margin. However, he didn't expect Chen Shang to actually have such a frightening blade technique. When this blade strike was coming, he practically saw a large wave with thunder and lightning envelop him. At this moment, it was already too late to dodge. So, he could only block with his long blade and exhaust all his true qi. The blade strike Chen Shang had used was the wave strike of the Dragon Slayer's 7-killing cut. It was incomparably overbearing and contained infinite power. This was the first time he had used this technique and its might had shocked Chen Shang too. Although Wei Hongdao's red long blade was an 8th level spirit weapon, when facing with the Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade, this divine weapon, it appeared to be insignificant. During the oncoming cleave of the huge blade, the blade body was wrapped in a layer of transparent and formidable power. It was full of destruction, and it carried unparalleled destructive force as it hacked towards Wei Hongdao's head. When Wei Hongdao felt that tremendous true qi, his heart shivered with fear. As soon as Chen Zhang's huge blade collided with his red blade, the red blade instantly shattered into pieces. He was already cornered, and in the next moment, an excruciating pain erupted from his body. The Dragon Slayer's 7 killing cut was originally used to kill dragons. It had tyrannical might as well as a fierce imposing manner. There was no way for a human to withstand it, and trying to do so only had one end, annihilation. After Wei Hongdao was cut with that terrifying power released by the wave strike, he vanished in a puff of smoke along with his blade. Chen Shang kept his blade, and with a calm look, he left the area. He was in the 5th level of the true martial realm, and only someone higher than the 6th level of the true martial realm could make him raise his guard. After all, it was already difficult to find an opponent in the same level as him. After crossing a few high mountains, when Chen Shang was halfway up a mountain, he suddenly saw slight movements among the trees not far away from him. Looking carefully, he saw many people running in the forest. In front, the disciples of the Lotus Island and Danxiang Taoyuan were running, while from behind, they were being chased by a large crowd of human devils. It was quite clear that those human devil were not manipulated by anyone. Otherwise, they would not be so violent, nor would so many of them give chase to humans all at once. Chen Shang rushed down, and with a few jumps, he arrived behind the disciples. After those disciples saw Chen Shang, for some unknown reason, they heaved a sigh of relief in their heart. Everyone just saw Chen Shang wielding both of his palms, striking them continuously. Rumbles relentlessly echoed out, and with each palm strike, the ground would severely tremble. Wherever the waves from his palms went, the ground would split and the trees would be uprooted. The shocking heaven palm was like fierce winds and mighty waves. As Chen Shang continuously struck like waves after waves, the majority of those mindless and violent human devils were simultaneously hit. Near the place where the socking heavenly palm landed, either both blood and meat flew everywhere, or the human devils would spat out black blood as their whole body lay paralyzed. As for those far-away violent human devils struck by the chi waves, the true chi within their body turned even more tyrannical, and as such, many human devils weren't able to control the fluctuations of true chi, causing them to be injured from their very own true chi. In just a few moments, Chen Shang had struck tens of shocking heaven palm, and this kind of power, which shook heaven and earth and overturned the mountain and sea, made the Lotus Islands and the Danxiang Taoyuan's disciples extremely horrified. If it was them in place of those human devils, the result would not be any different. In their front, the forest already no longer exists, and a large part of the trees had all been destroyed by Chen Zhang's shocking heaven palm. Those 200 to 300 human devils were either turned into a bloody pulp from the vigorous palm force, or were all torn apart, completely collapsed on the ground. Chen Shang frowned. He suddenly felt a great movement from far away, as if 10,000 horses were galloping. He reckoned a large number of devil beasts were rushing, so he quickly cried, "Walk quickly." There were 7 disciples from the Danxiang Taoyuan and 6 from the Lotus Island, besides a few who were injured. The rest of them were all fine. They didn't recklessly fight to death with those human devils, but instead, they only chose to flee. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been alive till now. They all knew that they did not come here to fight to death, rather, they came here to survive. All the way, everyone was running. Chen Shang, with them, was quite close to the depths of the wasteland. In here, the devil beasts were rather large in number, and all of them were quite powerful. Plus, having so many people in the periphery of the wasteland would produce large movement, very easily disturbing some powerful fellows in the depths, and this was something Chen Shang didn't want to happen. Everyone has been found. However, the beast martial sect and the proud sword sect's disciples were not only ungrateful, they even chose to attack Chen Shang, and thus, they were all annihilated by him. However, it was not more than 10 people, and those devil sect disciples had more casualties. After continuously running for 3 days, Chen Shang finally brought the disciples of the Danxiang Taoyuan and the Lotus Island to meeting point. After coming here, Chen Shang noticed many corpses laid on the ground, and all of them were either of human devils or of devil beasts. These past few days, all of them has been very vigilant, and although their face was filled with worry, after seeing Chen Shang arrive, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. Everyone had the very same look. All of them could not bear to smile, because they were all aware that they were in a very precarious position, especially against those powerful devil beasts. Chen Shang, after seeing a large head of a wolf, immediately knew that these devil beasts weren't controlled, and they came from the depths. Are all of you all right? Chen Shang asked. We're all right. Fortunately, we were all together, otherwise, we would have been eaten by those pack of wolves. Leng Yulan said. When thinking about those frightening devil beasts, a terrified look once again appeared on her face. The ground was completely covered in traces of fierce battle. All of them were forced to act together, and only then was it killed. Such deed was certainly marvelous, and even for Chen Shang, perhaps it would have been difficult to complete, unless he borrowed Long Shui's strength. We have already buried a lot of corpses. Younger brother Chen, you didn't know, but we were besieged by a few groups of devil beasts and human devils. However, their corpses didn't have anything valuable, and we didn't really make money this time. Zhu Rong complained. His face was completely filled with a look of fatigue, as though the battle against the pack of wolves happened very recently. The disciples of the righteous sect were only 40, but the devil sect's disciples were much more than them, and most of them could even control these devil beasts and human devils. Thinking of this point, many of them secretly started to get worried. They were all anxious if they would be caught and used as a sacrifice. Observing everyone's complexion, which was filled with dread and without the least bit of morale, Chen Shang knew that it was no good, so he shouted, "Who can create an array? A defensive array?" Seeing no one replied, Chen Shang sighed in his heart, but at this very moment, Shui Shenxian said in a small voice, "Brother Shang, I can a little bit. However, a lot of crystal stones are required for an array, high-grade and top-grade crystal stones are a must." Leng Yulan also came beside Chen Shang and said, "Brother, I also know a little bit, what type of array should I draw?" After thinking it through, Chen Shang was able to understand that both Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulan were personally taught by Lu Menger. Lu Menger was a grand refiner, and with regards to array spirit patterns, she was of course proficient. Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulan being able to understand them was not strange. "I don't have high-grade crystal stones, but I have a few top-grade crystal stones." Everyone was secretly shocked. Before, when they were fighting against the human devils and devil beasts, both Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulan had shown quite a lot of power. Both of them were rather formidable. Their attacks were overbearing and brutal, causing many men to feel ashamed. And now, they would have never expected both of them to call Chen Shang as brother, and it even seems that their relationship was also quite excellent. This made many of them to feel somewhat jealous. Chapter 246, Working Together. Chapter 246 Working Together. Chen Shang selected a hill, and then explained his plan to everybody. His plan was to dig some cave inside this hill and hid inside there. He was planning to have them wait for the rest of the next 2 months there, and in order to ensure safety, he suggested to also dug another tunnel inside, which would be connected another side. If it still could not turn the tables against their attackers, then they could escape from that tunnel. "We will also arrange a large formation, so if we encountered a powerful guy, then we can just open the formation. That way, we can resist for some time while everybody escapes from the other tunnel," Chen Shang said. Everyone here had received the help of Chen Shang, so they had no objection, and they very much supported Chen Shang. "Okay, for the start, everyone should divide the labor and work in cooperation. Those who are in the 4th level true martial realm and above should go and patrol, lest we are raided. Shenxian and Yulan will proceed to lay out the formation, and as for the others, they should go and dig the tunnel. There is no need for the female disciples to dig, just go help in arranging the large formation," Chen Shang said. Zhu Rong curled his lips and said, "Younger brother Chen, you can't be lazy, you also have to dig the tunnels with us." Yun Xiaodao nodded his head and said, "Yes, elder brother Chen, you need to be fair." The 4th level or 5th level true martial realm disciples were here to protect them, which would allow the others to dig at ease. That was why there was no objection. Chen Shang curled his lips, Hey, I'm already in 5th level of the true martial realm, so I don't need to dig." Everyone was shocked. All of them always thought he was in the 2nd or 3rd level of the true martial realm, and the reason he could exert such as a terrifying strength was because he was relying on a powerful blade and a mysterious martial skill. However, according to Chen Shang, he was already at the 5th level of the true martial realm. They thought that wouldn't that mean his strength was now comparable to a 6th or 7th level true martial realm martial artist? True or false? Zhu Rong was somewhat in disbelief. He knew that Chen Shang, at the 3rd level of the true martial realm, could very well imitate the strength of a martial artist in the 5th level of the true martial realm. Yun Xiaodao, as well as everyone else, were also staring at Chen Shang in disbelief. Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulan, who had been very trusting to Chen Shang, felt that Chen Zhang's sudden increase of cultivation was inconceivable. Have you heard of Wei Hongtao? A while back, I have finished him off in the forest. Chen Shang smiled and said. Wei Hongtao was an infamous young martial artist in the Devil Path sect. In the 5th level of the True Martial Realm, he was able to kill a 6th level True Martial Realm martial artist. I, with a single blade strike, beheaded him. If you don't believe, does any of you dare to try? Chen Shang laughed and said. Hearing that he beheaded Wei Hongtao with a blade strike, everyone gulped a cold lump in their throat. Before, they had heard a very large commotion coming from the forest, and they of course knew that it was Chen Zhang's deed. But hearing it from Chen Shang himself, now they couldn't help but believe it. After knowing Chen Zhang's accurate strength, everyone felt a lot more at ease. In here, there were several alchemists, and with their help, they could recover quickly. Brother, are you not going to search for the disciples of the Beast Martial sect and the Proud Sword sect? Lang Yulan asked. Chen Shang sneered, no need to search for them. Those ungrateful bastards have been chopped by me. I, in order to save them, wrestled with a powerful devil beast, and finally I was seriously injured, but those guys coveted my treasured blade, and in turn, they came to kill me. Fortunately, I still had a little bit of strength left. Brother Shang, were your injuries serious? Shui Shenxian hastily ran over, held Chen Zhang's wrist. She very much wanted to check on Chen Zhang's injuries. I'm completely fine, not to mention that because of them, I have entered the 5th level of the True Martial Realm. Chen Shang squeezed her face, smiled and said. Yun Xiaodao coldly snorted, those guys can go to hell. After we leave this damned place, let's inform the Dean, they'll destroy the Beast Martial sect and the Proud Sword sect. Once the other sect's disciples heard their conversation, they were completely astonished. Prior to coming here, Ji Yu Dongchen had stated that whoever dared to make a move on Chen Shang, their sect would be completely finished. After they leave, a reign of terror was definite. Ji Yu Dongchen had already cut the dean of the Beast Martial sect before, and now it was not difficult to extinguish the Beast Martial sect. Not to mention the Proud Sword sect was not on well terms with many other sects, and they even had history of colluding with Devil Path sects, because they wanted to seize the crystal stone mine of the extreme martial sect. This caused a rift between both of the sects. In the hill, a relatively big stone room along with many smaller stone rooms were dug out. The entire hill was made of hard black stone. It was very difficult to dig. However, when encountered a concentration of attacks, it wasn't able to withstand much longer. The escape passage led to a forest far away, which was only decided after discussing with many people. The opposite of this forest was precisely that canyon which disappeared, and the trees in that place were relatively bigger. The ground was also hard, all of it was made of very hard stone. If they encountered a group attack, then they could use the lush trees to resist. Among the 40 people, only 7 were girls, and no more than 13 were in or above the 4th level of the True Marital Realm. They made a big part of the group, that was why only 20 were now digging the tunnels. But even if the stone was hard, for True Marital Realm martial artists, it was a piece of cake. Using their vigorous true qi and spirit weapons, it was not too difficult to dig up. Lang Yulan and Shui Shang lead the 5 girls to the array. This kind of careful work could only be finished better if it was done by girls. Chen Shang, from time to time, was watching at the creation of the array. The females also had to do hard work. They had to carve very fine lines on the ground and on the rigid stone wall. Also, there was no room for mistakes. Furthermore, both Shui Shenxian and Lang Yulan would release some cold qi on the ground to make some markings for the other girls to dig. After they were done marking the ground, they would also participate in digging. Qianqin, your flame is very formidable, and you can easily create fine lines. If this goes on, then we would be finished quite early. Shui Shenxian exclaimed. She saw Wu Qianqin, with just a finger, draw on the rigid ground, as if it was in an ordinary mud. Although there was no flame on Wu Qianqin's jade-like finger, the heat it released could still be felt. Haha, my flames are only formidable. I'm still not like you, Shenxian. Not only do you know how to create arrays, you're also so formidable. Wu Qianqin laughed and said. Lang Yulan said, Qianqin, you flames are marvelous. I also use flames, but I'm unable to use flames like you. She, by infusing the flames in her spirit-grade dagger, very carefully started carving some lines on the ground. The other girls were doing marking the ground in unison. All of them were either using their own spirit weapon or true qi. Are the carvings here correct? Chen Shang walked over and asked. But it still needs a very long time to finish. The top of the mountain, the foot of the mountain, and the circumference of the entire mountain should also have some carvings. Shui Shenxian replied. This old lady was originally not cut out for this careful work. However, the dean insisted on passing it to me. Leng Yulan lightly snorted. She seemed anxious to draw the big sword on her back and ruthlessly hack it on the ground. Chen Shang slightly smiled and said, Yulan, then you can go dig the caves. Leave the rest to me. You alone? A girl asked. This was the true martial sect's disciple, Yu Yandi. Chen Shang nodded his head. They only saw him wave his arm, before many small specks of flame accurately fell on those drawing on the ground. Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulan had spent most of the day in carving these marks. They were now covered in frost and it was very easy to identify them. Once Chen Zhang's divine sense was transmitted, those small specks of fire suddenly landed onto the ground. Afterwards, they began to move, burning the ground, as easy as burning ice. Not long after, many lines appeared very quickly and easily, and this made all those girls extremely surprised. Everyone, without any exception, looked at Chen Shang in admiration. Once those small fire specks were extinguished, Chen Shang would then wave his hand again, releasing more of those small fire specks. Chapter 247, Profound Fire Exquisite Tower. Chapter 247 Profound Fire Exquisite Tower. TLN, yet another chapter sponsored by Giannis Mokri. Thank you for your support. EDN, you're helping Ash buy a car. 3. Leng Yulan patted Chen Zhang's shoulder, laughed and said, Brother, you're really awesome. Shui Shenxian played with her white hair, tenderly smiled and said, Good sister, you quickly go and dig. Making you do this kind of delicate work has truly wronged you. Leng Yulan open-heartedly smiled, pulled the big sword on her back and ran towards a cave. The other girls also followed her behind. They all didn't want to remain idle, and they also wanted to contribute. Although they were girls, they could not show any weakness. Qianchen, you should also do the same, give it a try. Chen Shang said, although he was faster compared to those girls, it would still need some time before the formation would be completed. And even after finishing, there was still a lot of after work left to do. Wu Qianchen nodded her head. She imitated Chen Shang and released some small specks of fire from her hands. However, she could only release 5 specks of fire, unlike Chen Shang who released many. At this time, Wu Qianchen realized how frightening the divine sense that was needed in controlling the movements of these specks of fire, and she also realized the amount of heat in order to burn the ground. This made her aware of her own inadequacies, especially the difference between herself and Chen Shang. Brother Shang, how many top-grade crystal stones do you have? Shui Shenxian asked. How many top-grade crystal stones do you need to lay out this formation? Chen Shang asked. Shui Shenxian furrowed her brows and slightly pondered for a while, before speaking, probably 300 or so. This is the Profound Fire Exquisite Tower formation taught by my teacher. It is very suitable in this kind of mountainous terrain. You can turn this hill into a tower-like structure, and it would generally be useful as a defensive structure. It would need a large amount of flames though. Chen Shang took out a rather large piece of top-grade crystal stone and handed it to Shenxian. This should be enough. Shui Shenxian stuck out her tongue, tenderly laughed and said, Brother Shang, you are truly overflowing with riches. No wonder Zhu Lao always wanted me to inquire about your things, but also ask me to speak good things about him in front of you. These days, Shui Shenxian became familiar with Chen Zhang's friends, and at the same time, she also came to know some of Chen Zhang's deeds from them. Not to mention Yun Xiaodao, Zhu Rong and the others were all very interesting too. However, what made it unbearable for her was, Yao Haisheng actually called her mistress with a straight face. After Chen Shang came to know, his belly almost burst. He certainly knew Yao Haisheng already didn't hate him, he knew that it was not wise to do so. Chen Shang once again gave many middle-aged crystal stones to Shui Shenxian. They were also used in the large formation. Chen Shang had no shortage of these crystal stones, and he didn't felt any heartache giving them away. On the contrary, Wu Qianchen and Shui Shenxian were both very surprised. Chen Zhang's wealth was simply amazing. Shui Shenxian carefully cut those top-grade crystal stones, and only after 1 hour of meticulous cutting was she finished. At this time, she called Leng Yulan and asked her to help her in setting these crystal stones in their designated place. After finishing setting them up, they still needed to infuse these carvings with pure fire attributed true qi. And with all the crystal stones linked up, the large formation would then be up and running. What caused Chen Shang to become surprised was Shui Shenxian actually knew how to use fire. Before, he had only seen her use cold true qi, but now, he suddenly understood that Shui Shenxian also had fire and ice veins, and Lu Menjie was also the same. That was also why she took her in as her apprentice. Chen Zhang's master and senior apprentice brother both had yin and yang veins. Lu Menjie herself had fire and ice veins, that was why she carefully nurtured Leng Yulin and Shui Shenxian. He knew that the rank of Shui Shenxian's fire and ice veins were definitely not low, and at least, it was heaven-level vein, or perhaps, it could even be a divine vein. Otherwise, she would not advance so quickly. A whole day passed, and the entire hill was completely covered in criss-crossed lines. In between these lines, a crystal stone was placed. Shui Shenxian had evenly embedded those 300 top-grade crystal stones in the large formation. It was also the first time for Leng Yulin and her to lay out this large formation. At the end, both Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulin were quite doubtful, because the way to lay out the formation they had learned was exactly the same. However, they understood very well the relation of the divine weapon Heavenly Empire and the Icewind Valley. That was why they were not that suspicious. Chen Shang promised Lu Menjie that he would not tell Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulin about her identity, but now it seemed Lu Menjie had been very good to the both of them and also taught them the same things. The only thing it is lacking is powerful flames. Elder brother, your flames are more formidable, and its density is also very high. If your flames filled this large formation, maybe it could make this large formation become more powerful. Leng Yulin said. Under everyone's cooperation, the large formation was finally finished. Tunnels as well as the underground passage were dug, while the 4th level true martial realm martial artists and above had also fended some attacks from the devil beasts and human devils. Although they encountered many problems, in the end, it was all resolved. Chen Shang took a leap, jumped up to the hilltop and said, "I'll give it a try." Suddenly, on his body, flames emerged, and scorching chi waves suddenly surged towards every directions. Regarding these kind of flames, everyone felt extremely surprised. They now understood why Chen Shang, at such a young age, was a 4th level alchemist. Relying on this kind of flame, he was truly worthy of his title. Chen Shang, with his fearsome divine sense, controlled the overflowing flames and directed them into those tiny indentations inside the formation. His flames, at this moment, were thoroughly compressed, appearing very small. But in truth, a small speck of it could casually burn the whole forest. Leng Yulin and Shui Shenxian, using their divine sense, guided Chen Zhang's flames into those carvings inside. At the same time, they made the flames flow into the embedded crystal stones so that they would fuse together. Otherwise, those crystal stones would explode from the incineration of flames. On that hill, there was a good several hundred thousands of crystal stones, and the thought of them exploding at the same time was extremely terrifying. At night, in a pitch-black wasteland, a small hill was glittering in red light. The hill was completely covered in fiery red spirit patterns, which appeared very beautiful as well as extremely profound. Chen Shang, in a steady stream, continued to release many flames, almost consuming his entire vermilion bird true qi. The richness of his true qi also made everyone feel shocked, especially those who utilize fire. Chen Zhang's flames were originally very frightening, and in their opinion, Chen Shang could not release it for too long. But at this moment, several hours had already passed, and the flames being released by Chen Shang did not show any signs of weakening. Finished, Leng Yulin and Shui Shang, at the same time, tenderly shouted. Their forehead was sweating profusely, because they had consumed too much of their divine sense. Usually, when they were cultivating, Lu Menjie was very demanding with them, especially with regards to their divine sense. That was why their divine sense wasn't lacking. Many disciples arrived at the same time, and at this moment, there was too much of a difference between themselves and those young and famous disciples. If it was them, they simply could not hold for so long. They obviously knew others had given a lot effort. Chen Shang retracted the flames and took a deep breath. On the hill, those red spirit patterns also immediately disappeared, and even those carved lines had not trace left. This made many secretly amazed. They had personally seen the others lay out a large formation, but all of a sudden, not even a trace was left. These spirit patterns were originally very mystical, and after the spirit patterns absorbed Chen Zhang's flames, Chen Shang didn't feel surprised from what occurred next. If this hill was besieged, what do we do if they broke the large formation? Zhu Rong worriedly asked. He knew a lot of crystal stones were used, and although the crystal stones were not his, it still made his heart bleed as if it was his. Rest assured, this large formation has already been integrated. Unless all its strength has been consumed, or the formation's base was destroyed by someone who knew how to break the formation, it would not be destroyed. Of course, this large formation is mainly for stalling time, allowing everybody to escape using the underground tunnel. If it is just some underlings, we ourselves will simply finish them off. Leng Yulan said. Chapter 248, Greater Crisis. Chapter 248 Greater Crisis. The devil sect disciples and those ordinary devil beasts and human devils simply did not pose any threat to them. However, what they were afraid of was encountering those terrifying devil beasts, such as pack leaders or ancient beasts from remote antiquities, like the black-armored crocodile Chen Shang had encountered before. Of course, this level of devil beasts were somewhat manageable, but if even more powerful beings showed up, like those who reached the extreme state, they would have no way to resist. Inside the hill, everyone was together in a circle eating some sort of meat from a demon beast. This had all been provided by Zhu Rong, only he would carry so much food. 2 months, only a little amount of time has passed. I'm worried about that altar. This is a huge opportunity for those devil path cultivators to turn things around. They've definitely made backup plans. As long as the altar is there, they are able to communicate with individuals from the devil domain. With their help, they could still do many things. Chen Shang sighed. Looking at the terrain of the southern wasteland, it was almost certain that many powerful existences had been sealed inside. Moreover, there was also a mysterious altar inside. It was quite evident that these must have been left behind from the last great war between the three heavenly realms. I could go with you to destroy that altar. Hao Dongqing suggested. Chen Shang shook his head and said, Senior brother Hao, you stay here. I'll check it out alone first. If I can't destroy it alone, then I'll come back and we can go together. Hao Dongqing was in the 5th level of the true marital realm and could be considered somewhat powerful, but Chen Shang going alone was much more convenient given his abilities. Brother, I'll go with you. Leng Yulan said. To travel the world with Chen Shang has been her dream for a very long time. Yulan, this place needs you, be obedient. Chen Shang replied. Leng Yulan was also not weak. There were many 2nd level or 1st level true martial realm martial artists here, but they didn't have any means to retaliate when facing those devil sect disciples. In order to win, many people needed to remain alive, and to ensure that, stronger martial artists were required to stay behind to guard. Leng Yulan was somewhat disappointed, but still nodded her head. This is a messaging rune. If there's anything urgent, as long as the rune is burned, I will know. Chen Shang handed Hao Dongqing the rune. Chen Shang had obtained this from those free immortal sea disciples he had killed before. Chen Shang already had decided to go to the altar, but if this place was not safe, he would not be at ease. But now he could go and search for altar without worry. Chen Shang knew the location of the altar, however, it was relatively deeper into the southern wasteland. In other words, there were also many powerful human devils and devil beasts in his way. The disciples of devil sects had all gathered together. They had not expected they would suffer so many casualties and even lose Wei Hongdan. Things didn't just end there either, it was unlike what they had planned, and far worse. Your 100 poison sect has been flinching, not the little bit useful. Are you good now? Not only did you not captured anyone, you've also disturbed the monsters in depths. A man shouted. These devil sect disciples were hiding in the ground, they all wore a black robe with a hood, all of them had the same outfit on. Humph, we, the 100 poison sect, specialize in usage of poisons, don't you already know how we are in regards to others' respects? If no one cooperated with us, we simply could not approach closer to them. It's really windy here too, any kind of poisonous air would be blown away, and could also cause our own side to be poisoned. Our hidden weapons also cannot be used against these kind of formidable righteous disciples. A hoarse sound retorted. Now they're all are hiding. They seem to be aware of our plot, but how could they have found out? We would all rather die than speak. If they don't enter the forests, we simply cannot ambush them and can only fight a head-on battle. It's almost like there's not enough of us to kill from the aftermath of the battle. Besides, Boss Wei might also be dead. A lamenting sharp and demonic voice came. It seems we can only try that way. An old sound said. Chen Shang nimbly leapt through the mountain forest. He encountered a lot of devil beasts and human devils, but he was extremely quick, and managed to escape from those bunch of devil creatures. He was currently somewhat suspicious. It seemed these human devils and devil beasts knew there were humans in nearby. Do these guys have very strong sensibility? Chen Shang muttered, before Shui Shenxian and the others at the converging point has been attacked by wave after waves of devil beasts and human devils, now they were once again rushing towards that place. Chen Shang could not help but be worried as he sped up towards the altar. These devils, beasts and human devils are all in true martial realm. But their intelligence is very common, even if their sense of smell is extremely sensitive, they would never think of rushing towards some faraway place, unless. Su Meiyao's tone became solemn. This group is being directed by a powerful individual. The southern wasteland is an ancient battlefield, maybe those powerful demon or devils from time immemorial are here, they may be sealed up, but they could still use their divine sense. Bai Yuyu's voice turned even colder. Chen Zhang's whole body quivered from shock. Are those formidable guys sealed in the depths making these devil beasts and human devils grab humans in order to open the altar and free themselves? At this point, not only the devil sect disciples wanted to free them, those old bastards were trying to free themselves. Things have become more and more serious, which increased Chen Zhang's determination to destroy the altar. Their guess was definitely fairly accurate. Long Shui said, if that's the case, then those powerful guys are still sealed. Hurry up and destroy the altar. If they come out, then the situation would be too horrible to describe. Who the hell was responsible for this place during the Three-Realm Great Battle? In remote antiquity, they actually left such dangerous beings. Chen Shang secretly cursed. Some guys are too formidable and very hard to kill. One only can seal them. Long Shui said. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were both silent, especially Su Meiyao. Chen Shang found she seemed to be worried about something, and didn't have her previous demeanor with that enchanting smiling expression. These groups of human devils and beasts devils chased Chen Shang for a while before giving up. It seemed like they were under control of someone, but Chen Shang would not allow these groups to go and besiege those disciples in the small hill. Chen Shang jumped up in the air, and smacked a palm towards the ground. Universal True Qi transformed into a huge transparent palm, fiercely pressing down on the earth, turning those devil creatures into patties one by one. Chen Shang, be careful. If these things are being controlled by someone, they might know what happened here. Plus, you are now on your way to altar. Perhaps that guy might arrange some powerful creature to try and block you. Su Meiyao exhorted in serious tone. Not long after Su Meiyao's words fell, a low-spirited and gloomy beastly roars came from ahead, making the dark wasteland even more frightening. The blowing chilly wind, the inexhaustible death qi, the gloomy beastly roars one after another drifting off into the sky along with the continuous shaking of the ground all served to create an incomparably horrifying atmosphere that even sent Chen Shang into jitters. Come then, Father's azure dragon slaughtering devil blade is not something to be trifled with. As Chen Shang clasped the blade's hilt, the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade suddenly flashed with an azure aura. Moreover, it slightly trembled as if it was excited. Feeling an intention for battle coming from the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, Chen Zhang's blood started seething. The azure dragon slaughtering devil blade's mission was precisely to slaughter devils, as can be seen by its title. In battle, it could give Chen Shang even more power in order to cut demons and extinguish devils. Chapter 249, Priest. Chapter 249 Priest. The trees in front of Chen Shang were being torn down one by one with tumbling stones and sand flying around everywhere. The very earth shook. It was as if tens of thousands of horses were galloping towards him. However, it was not horses but rather devil beasts, far larger than any horse. From its howl, Chen Shang could tell it was a very large wolf-type devil beast. Behind Chen Zhang's back, a large bundle of flames suddenly emerged. It formed into a huge pair of wings across his back, making his figure appear like a monstrous fire bird. Chen Shang had released the vermilion bird firewing. The flame's temperature was so high that all the nearby trees spontaneously combusted as a raging forest fire spread everywhere. The sudden sea of flame combined with the billowing smoke, from a faraway place, was a spectacular scene to behold. The wings on Chen Zhang's back became larger and larger. Currently, Chen Shang had released all of his vermilion bird true qi. He was preparing to use these wings to meet the impact of those hundreds of thousands of devil beasts charging towards him. If he wanted to escape, that would have been simple. But he could not escape, otherwise these devil beasts would trample over his companions behind him. As Chen Zhang's body was overshadowed by the billowing pillars of flame, he stared at the oncoming wave of devil beasts. Blue veins bulged as he clenched his fists, and along with an insane howl, he moved those 100-jong-long fire wings. With a single flap of those huge wings of flame, a fierce wind erupted as the surroundings were burned to the ground. The stones and soil on the ground turned red hot from the intense heat and the surroundings were covered in raging flames. With that single flap of those huge wings, everything in front of them were swept away. The dim wasteland had been illuminated in a fiery red light. The originally quaking ground settled down, only to be replaced by miserable beastly roars. After Chen Shang whipped those huge vermilion bird fire wings together, an incomparably scorching hot chi wave was produced, followed by the instant incineration of everything in its path. The entire stampede of devil beasts were submerged in flames. These were flames released by someone possessing the heavenly sunfire spirit. Extremely young and unbending, these type of flames were unbearable to evil creatures, innately suppressing them. As long as they touched these flames, an excruciating pain would spread throughout their whole body as each cell was burned into ashes. For them, these were the flames from the afterlife, judgment flames specialized in punishing evil. Just a short span of time passed, and those huge fire wings on Chen Zhang's back had already disappeared. His whole body was drenched in sweat. Even though he was the one who used the technique, he still felt the scorching heat from all the flames he had released. The environment in front of him was still burning with bellowing flames, and those devil beasts were struggling. It was like a scene of eternal damnation from the scorching punishments of hell. Chen Shang ate some dance for restoring true qi. Holding the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, he entered the sea of flames, which all avoided him like they had a collective conscience to avoid burning him. After entering the sea of fire, Chen Shang would brandish his blade and behead any struggling devil beasts in his path. The flames had burned for so long, yet a few devil beasts still struggled to stay alive. Their endurance was extraordinary. These were all the larger black and red wolves, far stronger than the ones Chen Shang had encountered before. He speculated that these wolves still had the ability to rapidly reproduce after turning into devil beasts, and were also very strong, otherwise there would not be so many of them. Chen Shang walked in the direction of the loudest roar. As a monstrous giant black wolf struggling, rolling and howling as it was burned by flames came into his view. Its powerful limbs were being slowly incinerated by the flames, causing it unable to stand. It seems that my flame grew along with my cultivation. It could actually burn this kind of big beast. Chen Shang slightly smiled before he slashed his azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, cutting that humongous wolf in half with a powerful azure chi. In the sea of fire, even Chen Shang didn't know how many wolves he had beheaded. He only knew that the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade was still not completely satisfied. Although he was tightly clasping the blade was still slightly trembling. From the contact between the blade and his hand, Chen Shang could feel the soaring battle thirst from the blade. There is a powerful guy in the vicinity. Long Shui shouted. The sky is also covered in a very evil aura, one filled with violence and blood. It seems a powerful guy is waiting for you up ahead. He should be the strongest opponent you have met since you entered this wasteland. Chen Shang turned serious, as he swallowed a true elemental dan, quickly adjusting his state. He wanted to be in peak condition to face this upcoming powerful threat. Passing through the sea of flames, the world around Chen Shang suddenly quieted down. Before long, all those miserable howls had already disappeared, as those wolves had all been beheaded by Chen Shang. To be precise, many more were burned to death by the flames. Smoke was still blowing from that severely burnt forest. A fiery light pierced the sky, brightly illuminating the wasteland. However, the southern wasteland was not hot at all. In fact, it had turned even a little bit colder. The chilly winds became more dense, the devil chi turned even more tyrannical. It was very strange. Chen Shang carried the huge blade on his shoulder. With the azure dragon making its battle intentions clear, shimmering in a cold and solemn aura on the blade body, along with the constantly overflow of an imposing manner filled with a majestic aura. Combined, this made Chen Shang look like he was an evil devil terminator. Chen Shang halted his steps, and took in mouthful of air. Suddenly, a man appeared in front of Chen Shang. This man had a very skinny build, with all his limbs were completely covered in white cloth. His face was very dark, very cold, like that of a dead man. However, red light could be seen from the pupil of his eyes, making others feel strange. In his hand was a very long bone spear. The snow-white bone spear was actually wrapped in mysterious black encryptions and appeared to be a good weapon. Feeling the intense devil chi spewing out from this man's body, Chen Shang concluded this man must be a human devil, and also a very formidable who had retained its spirit wisdom. "What are you going to do at the altar?" That man asked. This voice was stiff as well as cold, devoid of any emotion whatsoever. It was very creepy. Facing such a man, the normal reaction would be becoming alert and maybe frightened, but Chen Shang just grinningly smiled and said, "First of all, me going to the altar is none of your business. However, if you really want to know, I can tell you. I'm going there to take a piss." Chen Zhang's reply made that man's stiff face twitch. From those red eyes, a bloody light flashed through, making Chen Shang momentarily smell thick death qi surrounding him with the iron smell of blood. "I'm that altar's guardian. I am also its priest. You have blasphemed our sacred altar. I will use your blood, your heart, your soul and offer it to the devil god." Although that man's voice was stiff, it sounded very excited. When he spoke of devil god, his high-pitched voice was full of respect and humility, completely in conflict with his earlier emotionless speech. Seeing this, Chen Shang was somewhat surprised. He sneered and said, "I'd like to see if you even have the ability to stop me." Just as Chen Shang finished speaking, he saw a red light flash towards him. In that split second, he fiercely leaned his head to the side, just to see a small amount of his hair drifting away in the cold bitter wind. At that very moment, the long bone spear with many spirit patterns was resting on the side of his cheek. Feeling the cold qi gushing out from the bone spear, a chill ran through Chen Zhang's back. Chapter 250, Averting Crisis. Chapter 250 Averting Crisis. The original snow-white bone spear was bathing in a crimson light, as if it was suddenly bleeding, looking very peculiar. After missing his thrust, the priest didn't continue with the second thrust. Instead, he received the bone spear back and retreated a few steps. Both of his hands were holding the bone spear tightly as he raised it in the sky. With a loud shout, a huge black whirlpool suddenly appeared in the sky, and all the devil qi of the southern wasteland suddenly surged over his head. "Quickly stop this guy, although I don't know why he can suddenly gather such strength. If you allowed him to succeed, you might be in trouble." Su Meiyao hastily shouted. "This guy seems to be communicating with the devil domain. The spell he is chanting is from the ancient scriptures during the immemorial time of the devil domain, which only a few people can understand. It seems he is really a priest." Bai Yuyu said. Chen Zhang's dantian sank, the Tai Chi yin and yang diagram started to revolve insanely as the true qi in the 5 divine beast forms fiercely surged out. Then they fused together in his dantian, transforming into the universe true qi. With the infusion of such vigorous true qi into the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, its weight insanely rose. However, Chen Shang didn't feel any sort of change. He only felt that with this blade, he could cut everything in the world. Chen Shang had no idea what the priest was doing, but he knew that at the moment, the guy was doing something very terrible. If he let him succeed, the Qinwu mainland would certainly be in danger. The continuously trembling azure dragon slaughtering devil blade suddenly calmed down as Chen Shang yelled, "You fiend, go to hell." While speaking, the giant blade suddenly flashed as an immense righteous aura, followed by an azure light, burst forth. Afterwards, a dragon roar filled with majesty spread through all directions. At this moment, Chen Shang also felt a very strong power in the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade. He was already aware that he himself knew little about this blade. The strength hidden in this blade was very vast, and today, he came to know that within the blade, there was actually a kind of righteous aura, which was mostly fatal for depraved demon or devils. Chen Shang jumped over, with each step as fierce as a dragon and a tiger, providing him an immense strength. He brandished his blade and cross-chopped towards that bone spear raised towards the sky. At that very moment when the giant blade slashed over, a dragon roar resounded in all directions, and the righteous aura broke through that black whirlpool high in the sky. The land was as if it had a dragon who was waking up, and followed by that melodious high-pitched dragon roar, the land fiercely shook. Boom! High in the sky, numerous azure and red lightning suddenly flashed, as a fissure presented itself in those thick dark clouds. This fissure was the result of the collision of powerful qis that came from two different sources, and it was as though it was splitting the sky, bring about a spectacular view. The huge black whirlpool above the priest's head disappeared, and only the intertwining azure and red intertwining was left. While various sounds were echoing in the southern wasteland, it took a while before the land slowly calmed down, and after the echo disappeared, the southern wasteland once again fell into a death-like silence. That fire sea behind Chen Shang was also blown away from the impact, and in all around these two men, only a flat piece of land was left. One must know that just a few moments ago, the now flat land was all filled with trees and hills. Chen Zhang's hands were somewhat numb. He didn't expect that the bone spear would actually have such a strong power. He not only failed in cutting down the bone spear, his 5 zhong and 6 fu were also shaken up and squeezed together. But at the very least, he was still successful in preventing the dangerous task the priest was doing. The priest furiously looked at Chen Shang. From his mouth, black blood flowed out as black qi appeared in those glittering red eyes of his. Red lightning wound around his white bone spear as his rage turned into devil qi, surging forth from his body. You are actually capable of preventing me from accepting the leftover strength of the devil god here. You made me miss the sole opportunity granted by the devil god. I'll make you wish you would rather die than live. The priest's voice was cold, it was filled with bitter resentment, as if coming from the fiends of hell itself. Chen Shang, in his heart, was secretly shocked. Accepting the leftover strength of a devil god. Wouldn't it be most of the devil qi in the southern wasteland? That would be rather terrifying. Sister Yu, where the hell did this guy come from? That thing in his hand is very terrifying. It is same as my azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, and I was not able to cut that thing. Chen Shang hastily asked. Ancient devil god, they are the strongest cultivator in the devil domain. During the great battle of the 3 realms, the ancient devil god would leave behind this kind of place, along with an altar and a priest nurtured by the devil qi. Once defeated, as long as the priest and the altar is still there, it is possible for them to return to the devil domain through the altar, or receive the ancient devil god's instruction from the devil domain. In short, it is a method for the majority of the devils to be reborn after death. Of course, after the altars around the world were found, they were all immediately destroyed. In some worlds, the residents are simply not aware of them. But because majority of the ancient battlefield are all sealed, nothing will really happen to them. Bai Yu readily described, and unlike her usual demeanor, she was rather talkative at the moment. Chen Shang, in his heart, cursed the devil path guys. They actually knew such a dangerous thing, and they even planned to let the devil creatures in here once again see the light. The devil path sects should have obtained some records, however, the records they received are not very comprehensive. They perhaps don't even know what exactly is in this place. Bai Yu said. Chen Shang suddenly suspected Bai Yu was a resident of the devil domain, otherwise, she wouldn't know these stuff in detail. Even Long Shui and Su Meiyao both didn't know about these things. The thing in his hand is very good, your blade wasn't even able to cut it. But even though it is somewhat evil, you must still obtain it. Long Shui said. Just as she finished speaking, the priest let out a strange howl as he fiercely thrusted the bone spear towards Chen Shang. Before the bone spear even arrived, a sharp and powerful qi with had already come over with shoo shoo sound. It was like an invisible arrow piercing the air. Chen Shang reacted a bit slowly, and a bloodstain was left behind by the powerful qi on his cheek. However, he still dodged the bone spear. At the moment the bone spear's attack arrived, although there was not much large movements, Chen Shang could still sense the power contained inside it. If he was stabbed, the consequence would be simply unimaginable. The priest had dedicated himself in stabbing Chen Zhang's head. Realizing this point, Chen Shang finally realized his current predicament. The bone spear was not only incomparably hard, it also had a very special effect. To be precise, it could, in the blink of an eye, gather a large amount of power at its tip. Once it was thrust, that power from the tip would burst out. If a thrust was weak and missed the target, the power would then immediately return back to its user, thereby decreasing the consumption to the minimum. Chen Shang was attacked twice, and during those times, he had carefully paid attention to the power flow in the bone spear. That was why he could speculate this. It was indeed not a bad weapon. He had the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade, but it would be nice to have another powerful weapon, though the bone spear didn't seem to have anything righteous about it. This guy is just a one-trick pony. He only knows how to use that thing to stab you. Maybe he doesn't even know any other devil techniques. Long Shui said. Just as she finished speaking, she immediately knew that she was wrong, because the priest stretched his 5 fingers apart, and in the blink of an eye, it transformed into a huge skeleton claw. The huge skeleton claw whisked towards Chen Shang, with bloody red aura winding around it. As it got closer to Chen Shang, dark cold devil qi shot out towards all directions. Chen Shang knew that if he was hit, then his head would certainly be torn in half. That huge skeleton claw hastily struck towards Chen Shang. However, when he was hit, Chen Zhang's figure burst into mist. It was a virtual image created from mist. Suddenly, Chen Shang appeared behind the priest. With both of his hands clasping the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade, which was infused vigorous and firm true qi, he very quietly slashed towards the priest from behind. Chapter 251, Penetrating Heart Devil Eye. Chapter 251 Penetrating Heart Devil Eye. When Chen Shang saw his own giant blade about to cut the priest into two, he felt a sudden piercing pain in his eyes. God knows how, but the priest's hand had suddenly twisted behind his back and blocked Chen Zhang's blade strike with the bone spear. At the same time, a fierce impact came from the bone spear and traveled through the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade to Chen Zhang's wrist, which almost made him lose his grip on the blade. The priest blocking this attack was no small matter, it was totally out of Chen Zhang's expectations and caused him to be incomparably surprised. One must know that strike of his was carrying hundreds of thousands of jinns, plus the bizarre power of azure dragon slaughtering devil blade behind it. For all devil path fiends, it would surely have been a fatal blow, yet it had just been blocked by such a thin-looking bone spear. While Chen Shang was still in shock, the priest fiercely turned around and once again sent a huge skeleton claw over, enveloping Chen Shang. This attack was filled with the thick stench of blood, a noxious aura overflowed, unleashing a primal terror present in every human soul. Seeing that claw, Chen Shang subconsciously reached out to detain the priest's wrist. A thin true qi circulated in Chen Zhang's 5 fingers which contained a very strong destructive force. This was the profound aura finger, most things pinched by it would be easily mashed like tofu. This time around, Chen Shang spent a very condensed amount of true qi to cast it compared to past occasions. It was a lot more formidable. After gripping the priest's wrist, he vigorously squeezed. However, things didn't go as he had expected. His 5 fingers indeed sunk into the flesh of priest's wrist, but when it was about to reach the bones, Chen Shang felt a surge of power that resisted the profound aura finger's special destructive force. At the same time, the bone spear in the priest's hand thrust over. A desolate red light thrusted straight at Chen Zhang's chest. The priest's face was filled with pride along with a fierce-looking smile. He and Chen Shang were not far away, there was simply nowhere to run. Chen Shang was once again clawed by the priest, but this time it was simply too late to dodge the attack. The bone spear stabbed into Chen Zhang's chest, but it did not go any further. A strong and tyrannical shockwave erupted, pushing Chen Shang 100 steps away from the source of the impact. Chen Shang took in a small mouthful of air. If not for blocking the blow with the black tortoise adamantine armor a moment ago, perhaps his heart would have just been pierced through by that long bone spear. The black tortoise adamantine armor was the god's armor from the ancient times. One could say it was simply indestructible. Not only would it not allow any blade or spear or any weapon whatsoever to harm its user physically, it could also dissipate half of the impact force. This guy is far stronger than you could barely keep up with his speed. How about you use my power? Long Shui asked. At this moment, there is no need. Your power needs to be left for the most crucial moment. We still haven't reached that point. Chen Shang firmly rejected Long Shui's assistance. As the priest saw Chen Shang still standing there as good as before, he could not understand why he could not even harm as much as his opponent's hair despite putting all his strength behind the attack. From Chen Zhang's body, water vapors suddenly surged out just before few thick water vines suddenly emerged under the priest's feet, tightly binding him in place. Chen Shang released this water vine by using the majority of his black tortoise true qi and divine sense. At this very moment, Chen Zhang's figure instantly appeared in front of the priest. He had casted the water vine in order to seize this chance. The priest had simply been too quick. If Chen Shang attacked head-on, it would be either dodged or blocked, only this way would he have the opportunity to attack. The priest was very calm, even if he could not move. He firmly stood there and raised the bone spear, thrusting towards Chen Shang. He had already expected this to happen, so at the very same moment the bone spear's thrust arrived, many scales suddenly emerged out from his palm, directly grabbing that thrusting bone spear. At the same time, he raised the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade. The azure dragon slaughtering devil blade shook. Qi fluctuations swept through all 4 directions, setting off bursts of fierce wind one after another. Dense clouds rolled high in the sky, azure lightning flashed one after another followed by rolling thunder. At this moment, there was a high sea wave carrying the unstoppable momentum behind Chen Shang, who was currently standing on the crest of the sea wave. The insane strength form the wave slammed down onto his giant blade. The bone spear was being tightly gripped by Chen Shang. Even though his palm was covered in the scales of black tortoise adamantine armor, he could still feel the violent power in the bone spear. So long as he slacked off even a little bit, his palm would be burst opened. That being said, he didn't need to persist for too long, because his giant blade was already slamming down on the priest. Wave Strike, it was one of the moves in the Dragon Slayer's 7 killing cut. Combined with the Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade and the Azure Dragon True Chi, it had turned into an even more terrifying blow. Once this move was used, it was like a giant tsunami that came out of nowhere, filled with the destructive power of nature that could wreck the earth. Ah! As the Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade hacked down, the priest gave a mournful blood-curdling, hair-raising scream. The ground itself went up and down like a sea from the downward cleaving motion of Chen Zhang's blade. Chen Shang originally wanted to hack the priest in two, however, a strange power prevented him from doing so and instead made his strike miss his target, merely cutting off the priest's arm that held the bone spear. Nevertheless, Chen Shang still felt extremely excited. He vigorously strummed the bone spear, and quickly threw off the arm clasping it, before throwing the bone spear into his storage pouch. This guy's weak point is his heart. If you had not missed, your blade could have cut through his heart. Bai Yuyu suddenly said. Chen Zhang's eyes lit up, but at this time, the priest let out a hideous scream. Breaking his foot free from the water vine, before swooping towards Chen Shang. What made Chen Shang feel surprised was that the arm that had just been cut off a moment ago actually flew on its own, sticking itself at the same place where it was cut off. Soon fusing back together, Chen Shang was surprised yet again as he hacked out a few blade strikes again and again. Each blade blow set off fierce winds, the powerful chi spewed out from the giant blade and bombarded the priest's body, giving off thunderous explosions. However, from the beginning to the end, the priest was unshakable from the lightning strikes, as if the attacks didn't cause any harm to him. In just a few moments, Chen Shang had hacked out several powerful strikes, yet the priest still arrived in front of Chen Shang. When he was about to hack down again, the priest suddenly grabbed the Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade's tip, in the very same way Chen Shang had grabbed the bone spear a few moments ago. Chen Shang found his blade being grabbed with a deathly grip, he simply couldn't move. This kind of power made him feel afraid, he knew he had angered the priest. After all, he was a devil that had been bred by the rich devil chi in here for many years. If Chen Shang could truly strike the priest, perhaps his Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade would have already cut the priest into two. The Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade was specially forged for dealing with fiends, but Chen Shang could not do anything to the priest. From this, it was evident how wide the gap between their strength was. The priest's arm suddenly turned into a huge skeletal claw, braving with endless desolate death chi, even denser than before. The devil chi of the southern wasteland insanely converged into the priest's body as he constantly grew stronger. Seeing the skeletal claw about to grab him, Chen Shang still remained reluctant to let go of the Azure Dragon Slaughtering Devil Blade. He knew the instant he did so, it would be snatched. At this critical moment, a fierce flash ran through Chen Zhang's eyes, as two red beams shot out, penetrating the priest's heart. The torrential imposing manner of the priest suddenly quivered, and the originally gathering terrifying power immediately dissipated, drifting into the sky. Chen Shang was elated in his heart, he retreated a few steps and still did not dare to approach that powerful guy again. Now he knew the priest was very strange, with an emotional outburst the priest's power could become much higher and he could even quickly engulf the inexhaustible devil chi around him to elevate his own strength. The priest's weak point was truly his heart. However, his body was very strong, and even the powerful chi burst out from several blade strikes could not harm him. That being said, the penetrating heart devil eye easily pierced through his chest. Chapter 252, Devil Soul. Chapter 252 Devil Soul. While holding his chest, the red light disappeared from his pupil and was replaced by the azure pupil filled with dismay. The priest retreated and spoke with a look of disbelief. How do you know this supreme sacred technique? Impossible, you're from the righteous sect, moreover, you are fighting against us, impossible. He even said impossible a good several times, before his body gradually turned black and transformed into black mist, drifting into the air. Chen Shang heaved a sigh. What made him suspicious was the sacred technique from priest's mouth. Sister Yu, this guy spoke of sacred technique, what's going on? Chen Shang asked as he took out the long bone spear. At the moment, it was snow-white in color, shining like white jade bone, wrapped in black spirit patterns. It appeared incomparably bizarre and evil, giving off a peculiar charm. Don't ask too much, just know that it is very formidable, that's enough. Bai Yuyu said, she didn't want to tell him too much. Dear brother, the reason why you cannot use the devil techniques in front of others is also because of this very reason. Senior sister already violated the rules to teach you those powerful devil techniques. When you use them, you need to be careful, don't fail senior sister's expectations. Su Meiyao exhorted. Chen Shang, in his heart, heaved a light sigh. In his mind Bai Yu's elegant face, carrying a strange charm, suddenly appeared. Very complex emotions surged in his heart. He knew Bai Yu definitely had a lot of secrets, and Su Meiyao was also the same. However, it was Bai Yu who worried him the most, because she cultivated in the ruthless devil technique. It could make one not recognize their own friends and relatives, eventually leading to their own demise. If this devil technique was dispersed, then she would turn into a cripple. What Chen Shang was certain of was Bai Yu was an important figure in the devil domain. Now she was being hunted down by many strong martial artists, and once she dispersed her ruthless devil technique, then she would be devoid of any strength to resist. Because of this, he knew that he must redouble his effort to elevate his strength, and become a lot more powerful in order to protect this cold but warm on the inside woman. The reason why he could arrive this step was all because of his encounter with Bai Yu and Su Meiyao, these two peerless beauties. To help them recover their pinnacle strength, he still has a long way to go. The powerful priest, because of suffering the sudden attack of the penetrating heart devil eyes, didn't have the chance to dodge as his heart was struck by Chen Shang, causing him to eventually die. Now there was no one to halt Chen Zhang's steps to the altar again. He should immediately destroy the altar in order to stop the incoming devastating disaster of the Chenwu mainland. The devil techniques I taught you is the same as those dragon-slaying divine martial techniques. The dragon-slaying divine martial techniques were created by the dragon family in order to deal with the dragons, and the devil techniques are also the same, they were created to deal with the powerful devils of the devil domain. You need to make good use of them. Bai Yu said. Chen Shang walked enough for half an hour, before he saw a high platform filled with rich devil qi. Above, there was a very hideous-looking huge black figure, which appeared very frightening. After arriving here, he sensed a power surging into his body, giving him a headache. He retreated a few steps, however, the excruciating pain still rampaged in his mind while he let out low-spirited howls. What is going on? Chen Shang said while moaning. There is a very powerful divine sense intruding into your mind. Long Shui replied in a serious tone. Chen Shang was astonished. He hastily stepped back, and at this time, he suddenly heard a grim laughter in his mind. Ha ha, brat, you're too tender. I'll soon be able to control you and make you go to your companions and bring them here. Although the priest is dead, as long as there are enough humans, the altar could still be opened. Don't you want to destroy the altar? Ha ha. That voice hideously laughed. Chen Shang realized that it was this guy who had been controlling the devil beasts and human devils to continually attack them. Although he was sealed, his divine sense was nevertheless so powerful, and it still could cause him this kind of harm. Chen Shang felt that he was losing control of his body. A violent consciousness surged onto his mind, making him think only of killing. He knew it was all due to that guy's divine sense. This guy is someone with a devil soul, which is equivalent to the divine soul. Among the devil path, it is very rare, and many times rarer than those of the righteous path. Su Meiyao exclaimed, however, she was not surprised. On the contrary, she was a bit excited. Chen Shang knew Su Meiyao and the others definitely had some way, however, why did they not tell him yet? Something he could not figure out. Wait, Bai Yu said in a light tone. There was a slight trace of gentleness in her voice, making Chen Zhang's heart feel warmed, easing down the pain a lot at the same time. However, that consciousness was too strong, and he already could not control his body. At the moment, his body was running very fast. Chen Shang, use the engulfing devil skill to engulf this guy, quick. Bai Yu suddenly shouted, causing Chen Shang, who was in pain, to become shocked. Chen Shang hastily operated the devil technique. Although it was not the true qi, the engulfing principle remained the same. The divine sense which entered his body began to gradually weaken. Through the engulfing devil skill, it surged into his consciousness. Although it was the divine sense of a devil path martial artist, it was still nonetheless pure. As long as one cultivated Shinto, the divine sense they needed was pure. Unconsciously, Chen Shang gradually regained control of his body. He sat cross-legged down on the ground and began engulfing in madness. At this time, he could hear that sound from before, but now it was shouting in fear. This is engulfing devil skill. How can you know this? Ah, no, let me off, I'll be your slave, ah. Hearing this sound, Chen Shang engulfed even more fiercely as the divine soul in his consciousness quickly started growing. His divine had been improving twice as much. That very pure divine sense, after entering his consciousness, was directly refined as he operated the 9-turn dragon god technique, and turned into his own divine sense. You bastard would like to occupy father's body, now it is too late for you to regret. Chen Shang hideously laughed and said. He now understood why Su Meiyao and Bai Yu didn't told him in advance that he could engulf the divine sense a while ago. Otherwise he would exercise his skills to reduce the pain, and by that time, the divine sense would be scared off, which would do more harm than good. Although he was not aware of his actions, he had invited the devil's soul to his consciousness, and this made it easier for him to trap and engulf him. He released his own divine sense, and in a steady stream, he engulfed the power of the devil's soul. This guy is still inexperienced. But it was unexpected that while he was sealed, he was still able to cultivate his divine soul. However, you still cheaply took advantage. Long Shui mischievously laughed and said. She knew how formidable Chen Zhang's engulfing devil skill was, that was why from the beginning, she was not worried. The devil who was being engulfed was still unceasingly screaming, as if begging for mercy. However, Chen Shang kept on engulfing, he planned to finish him off. In the Devil Path world, the divine soul is called the Devil's Soul, but equally, it was also called Shinto. In the Devil domain it was even rarer. And in the righteous world, only the dragons could cultivate in Shinto. It was seldom seen in humankind, but still there were some. Chen Shang cultivated the divine soul to his utmost, and he only lacked a large amount of energy. Before, he had eaten the elemental spirit Dan, which allowed him to soar by leaps and bounds, and now that he engulfed a young devil soul, it would allow him to advance even more faster. Bit by bit, time passed, those cries became increasingly weaker. With regards to the devil, Chen Shang simply would not keep his hand. Furthermore, a while ago, the devil wanted to control him to make him open the altar. Chapter 253, Destruction of the Altar. Chapter 253 Destruction of the Altar. When Chen Shang opened his eyes, the altar in front of him was even more clearer. After the devil's divine soul was engulfed by Chen Shang, that devil was long dead because that devil's soul was even pulled out of his body. Chen Shang closed his eyes, sank into his consciousness and looked at the divine soul. He found it was already 10 years old, twice as big as before. He could feel his own divine sense rose sharply by many times, and he could clearly sense everything all around him. Good, your divine soul has finally passed through the infant stage and the early childhood stage and entered the adolescent stage. The adolescent stage is divided into 10 layers, and by the time your divine soul looked like 20 years old, you'll cross the adolescent stage. You still need to work a lot. Long Shui said. Chen Shang laughed and said, so now can I learn more things? Little dragon, what stage is your divine soul at? Isn't your divine soul like a little brat? Long Shui tenderly laughed and said, my divine soul is a great beauty, however, I just came out of my egg. Whenever I take the human form, I could only have this appearance. Chen Zhang's mouth slightly twitched, he already knew that the appearance of this little greedy dragon was only a disguise. Originally, she was a very old woman, regarding her pretending to be a lovely and tender child, he very much held it in contempt. Wait till you are out of here, I'll pass you some more spiritual power. Long Shui said. Chen Shang touched his chin and said with a wicked smile, little girl, I want to see your true appearance. I will not show you. Long Shui tenderly snorted and said, you are too bad, wait till I think it's time, only then will I let you see it, or wait till my body grows up. Chen Shang stretched his exhausted waist and walked to the front of altar. The altar had a staircase with many steps. Chen Shang estimated that it had about thousands or so. At the top, there was very big platform, with a large column erected at each of its corner. Each column was carved with many spirit patterns, and in the center of the platform, there was a huge hideous statue, similar to a devil. The entire altar looked gloomy, daunting and magnificent under dim light. It gave off a kind of strange feeling, making anyone who see it to become fearful. This is one big altar. In those days, didn't those righteous martial artists find it? Chen Shang looked at the magnificent altar in front and doubtfully spoke. The altar was only built later. It was built by the priest by controlling some human devils and devil beasts. Bai Yu explained. Chen Shang slightly sucked in a mouthful of air. In order to completely destroy the altar, he had to cast the heavenly dragon seal. Devil Path bastards, your plan ends here. A sliver of sneer appeared on Chen Zhang's mouth, before he began releasing a large amount of true qi. Through the chanting formula of the spiritual power, and using the bizarre mana, his true qi was mobilized. he instantly transported a large amount of true chi above the altar. TLN. All of you wondering what is magical power, Fa Li. It was used in some previous chapter as spiritual power, as it meant cultivation power and was introduced with Shinto, so I translated it as spiritual power. But translating this chapter, I once again thought about it and changing it to mana, also went back and changed it. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. There was not much to change though, only chapter 227, 6 places 228, 6 places and 242 places. From all around, true chi violently surged over. Although the majority of true chi here was devil chi, most of it was still constituted of spirit chi. Furthermore, the energy inside it was a lot more denser than spirit chi. Not only was it too tyrannical, it didn't affect Chen Shang while casting the heavenly dragon seal. He had casted once before in this place, and it was a lot stronger than he had imagined. Now his divine soul had grown a lot, and he was also in the 5th level of the true martial realm, so his mana was denser by a wide margin. This caused the amount of devil chi absorbed to increase. High in the sky, within the radius of hundreds of li, billowing black clouds emerged as a large amount of devil chi violently surged over to Chen Zhang's location. Chen Shang wanted to cast the powerful heavenly dragon seal in order to thoroughly destroy the altar. The righteous sect disciples in the periphery all looked at the sky. At the moment, the atmosphere was very depressing, even if separated by a wide distance, they all could sense the bursts of oppressing pressure coming from the altar one after another. They still didn't know what happened, but during this period, they rarely encountered any massive devil beasts attack. On Chen Zhang's back, a pair of huge fire wings appeared, before he flew into the sky, far away from the altar. As he clenched his fists, blue veins bulged out on his entire arms, while his strong body braved the steaming true chi. He kept on chanting the spell increasingly quicker. His kept on chanting paragraphs without stopping, continuously gathering the spirit chi. The true chi and mana in his body insanely used his physical strength and consciousness, he was exhausting himself rather quickly. Suddenly, the land slightly trembled. To be precise, it was the entire southern wasteland which trembled, and even if one was outside the southern wasteland, they could still sense it. What was even more frightening was, after the trembling, rounds after rounds of mournful wailings reverberated, as if wild shrieks and howls were coming from hell itself. It was very scary. The sealed devils in the southern wasteland are all lamenting. Bai Yu sneered and said, once the altar is destroyed, they would never rise ever. Why? Chen Shang asked. At this moment, he was still gathering power. If the 3 realms intersect, the devil domain's people can arrive. Can't they save them? They cannot. The altar and the souls of these devils are linked together. Once the altar is destroyed, then it means their soul will also be destroyed. Their soul was bound with the altar during its establishment, moreover, the altar also need their strength. However, some guys are still there who did not establish soul relations with the altar. Bai Yu said. The southern wasteland seemed to have fallen into hell. Desolate screaming, continuous quaking, and billowing dark clouds were all over the sky as devil chi insanely surged towards Chen Zhang's direction. This caused the righteous sect's disciples to become very anxious. Almost. Chen Shang took in a long deep breath and once again started chanting another paragraph of the spell. Suddenly, a huge mass of black chi transformed into a huge hideous black dragon claw on top of the altar. This dragon claw was rather enormous, not to mention a single altar. Even if there were 10 altars, it would envelop them all. Looking from far away, it was as big as a city. Chen Shang frowned tightly, he felt his divine sense was disappearing very quickly. All the gathered mana was released out, before that black dragon claw had come into existence. Even scales were present around it, and its sharp claws could not be more clearer, like a true dragon claw. Destroy. Heavenly Dragon Seal, release. Chen Shang shouted as the huge black dragon claw fiercely took a dive. At the same time, a burst of pressure accompanied with explosions spread in all directions, blowing Chen Shang into continuous retreat. The giant claw pressed upon the altar as the group of devils suddenly burst into desolate and mournful wailings. At the same time, an earth-shaking explosion burst out. After the altar was struck by the huge heavenly dragon seal, it was as though the land, which was like a calm lake, was suddenly hit by a stone, sending out rounds after rounds of ripples. However, instead of water, there were countless dust and stones accompanied with storm blew towards the endless horizons. Wherever it went, the ground was raised, and pieces after pieces of forests, whether it was a large or small mountain, were all torn into pieces from the powerful shock wave. Explosions rang non-stop, as if the sky itself was falling down, and it was already the end of the world. Chen Zhang's true chi and divine sense were almost exhausted. Only a few vermilion bird true chi was supporting him in releasing those powerful fire wings, letting him float in the air. But because of the fierce winds, he still tumbled around into a confused and disoriented state. As the altar destroyed, Chen Shang could not see anything. His body, along with some debris, were blown into the sky by that fierce wind. All around was all dark fragments of stones and wooden splinters. He also had not expected that the heavenly dragon seal would actually be so powerful. Destroyed. All of this was caused by the heavenly dragon seal in the altar. The altar had a very vast power in it, and after it burst open, it turned out this way. Long Shui said. Chen Shang also thought it was more reasonable, otherwise, his attack would be comparable to a Nirvana realm martial artist's attack. One should know that no matter how formidable he was at the moment, he could still not be compared with Nirvana realm martial artists anyway. As long as any Nirvana realm martial artist wished, they could press him to death with just one finger. Chapter 254, Devil God's Command. Chapter 254 Devil God's Command. The quicker the storm came, the faster it left. Now, a larger part of Chen Zhang's body was buried in the soil. Only from above was his chest revealed. He was also somewhat dizzy. Little fool, quickly wake up, ha 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 ha, it's morning. Long Shui merrily started laughing. The southern wasteland was originally dark, however, now it was like clear sky after the storm. One could see the hot sun hanging in the sky, and they could also the blue sky, as well as the blossoming white clouds floating above. Fragrant air suddenly surged into the southern wasteland, and as Chen Shang opened his eyes, he could not help but shout. Where am I? His body shook as he struggled out of the soil, before he saw himself standing on a high mountain, a recently formed mountain at that. He swallowed a few true elemental dans and quickly recovered true chi he had consumed. More than an hour passed, and he had already recovered 80%. He released the vermilion bird firewings to look for a direction, then he fluttered them and quickly started flying. The terrain of the southern wasteland had already changed. Chen Shang could no longer recognize any roads. The forests no longer exist, but they would grow out later on. Because the altar had completely disappeared, not much of the devil chi was left now. The entire southern wasteland was originally sealed, but now it could once again see the light. The devil chi covering the southern wasteland, along with the destruction of the altar, instantly disappeared. In here, most of the devils were already dead. Soon, Chen Shang found the hill where they had laid out the array. As it was in the periphery, which was far away from the altar, it wasn't affected by any destruction. From the sky, Chen Shang looked at the few people on the hilltop. One was Hao Dongqing, another one was Yao Haisheng, and the other three were all 4th-level true martial realm disciples from other sects. Chen Shang descended from the sky, landed on the hilltop, laughed and said, "The altar is taken care of, now we do not need to worry." "You brat is too strong. You actually came up with so much movements. I think the entire southern wasteland is gone." Hao Dongqing laughed and said. Chen Shang arrived at the hall inside the hill, and he saw that everyone else was there. The movement was way too huge, and they already suspected it was Chen Zhang's work. This kind of power, in their opinion, was already equivalent to a Nirvana realm martial artist's, but Chen Shang was only in the 5th level of the true martial realm. Hey, the energy inside the altar was rather strong, that's why there was so much movement. Chen Shang laughed and said. Shui Shenxian took out a handkerchief as she wiped out the dust on Chen Zhang's face. Chen Zhang's whole body was covered in soil, and it was like he had just walked out of quagmire. "Brother, that means we are not in any danger anymore, right? These devil beasts and human devils are gone," Leng Yulin said. "Not sure. You obediently stay here. Humph, these devil path bastards only know how to hide. When it's time to leave, we will find them and kill them all, and we will let them know we, righteous sect disciples, are not so easy to bully. They even plotted against us and actually wanted to sacrifice this Missy." Leng Yulin became increasingly angry as she spoke. If she came know where the devil path disciples were hidden, she would have already taken out her giant sword and rushed out. Chen Shang and Shui Shenxian showed a smile. Leng Yulin's character was hot like that, even though she was an Icewind Valley's disciple. "I thought that after the altar is destroyed, we could get out, but we have not seen the way out yet." Zhu Rong sighed. Their location was very close to the canyon, and yet the canyon had still not appeared. Everyone was also like that, Because after the altar was destroyed, the changes in the southern wasteland were just too earth-shaking, and it made many of them think they could immediately go out. When Chen Shang flew over, he also didn't see the canyon. He knew there was still an array in the southern wasteland, which was being manipulated by those tycoons of the devil path. "You brat who has destroyed the altar, we will remember you." In the sky, a voice was suddenly transmitted, with a message that was directly conveyed to Chen Shang and the others inside the hill. "Devil God's command has been issued, you just wait for us." That sound once again came, which made everyone feel a little worried. Chen Shang had destroyed the altar and removed a lot of devils, but now who exactly was speaking? Chen Shang shook his head to the crowd, indicating he also didn't know whose sound it was. "During this time do not go out, continue to stay here. There is a large formation here, so this place is a lot safer," Chen Shang said. Chen Shang also rested for a while. These days, he was too tired from running about. That sound from a while ago should have come from the devil domain. Only if someone had blasphemed the devil god will the devil god's command be issued. It is something issued by the devil god's believers. There are many devil god's believers, and some of these devils have terrifying strength. You do not have to worry for now, because the devil domain's residents still can't come over. However, once the three realms converge, you will be in danger. The devil god's believers are a bunch of madmen," Bai Yu said. Chen Shang nodded his head, closed his eyes and began resting. He was currently alone in a stone room. Others also knew he was tired, and they did not bother him at all. With a rapt attention, they just looked for any movements all around them. Since the altar was destroyed, it was very calm. Only a month was left before they could leave. Chen Shang reckoned that these remaining devil sects, disciples were also like them, hiding somewhere. Once it was time to leave, many of them would go all out to compete. Although the devil sect disciples had arrived here 3 years ago, they could still not replace those who had died. Those who had signed up all had their portrait taken, and it was exactly for this kind of situation. After Chen Shang had engulfed the true chi of the disciples of the beast martial sect and the proud sword sect, he had still not cultivated rather well, before engulfing a devil soul. Now in his private room, he was cultivating with a calm heart these days. He wanted to lay a solid foundation, so as not to leave hidden dangers for the future. By that time, it would be very troublesome for him. After entering into the 5th level of the true martial realm, he knew that those true elemental grains would not be so easy to light up in the future, and compared to the amount of true chi compressed in the true elemental grains in the past, it would require a lot more. There was no way he could just rely on true elemental dans, and even though the building foundation dans had very good effects, it would rather be wasted on him. It was still alright to use them when he was in the 2nd or 3rd level, but now that he was in the 5th level of the true martial realm, using them would only be a waste. If it was given to those 10th level mortal martial realm martial artists to use, maybe some of them could cultivate into the true martial realm. Chen Shang decided that after he went back, he would sell the building foundation dans in exchange for a large wealth, then leave to collect the other required herbs for the 5 elements true elemental dan. Only by relying on the 5 elements true elemental dans, could he quickly elevate his strength. He was now already in the 5th level of the true martial realm, and increasing his level so quickly all of a sudden was also not good. He decided to improve in other regards. He was thinking of getting a 5th level alchemist's token, then move on to learn weapon refinement, as well as get familiar with the spirit patterns. After learning the spiritual power, he knew the formidability of the spirit patterns. He already had an idea to carve spirit patterns on the Dan surface, but it was just that he was not yet proficient in spirit patterns, so it would still take time for him to learn. Roar! Suddenly, a deafening roar came over, which shook the entire hill. Chen Zhang's complexion changed, he knew some powerful beast had arrived. Chapter 255, Powerful Devil Beast. Chapter 255 Powerful Devil Beast. Many people inside the hill had been disturbed. One by one, they all came out to look. Chen Shang rushed to the hilltop, and what he saw in front of him were collapsed trees along with a 3-headed giant wolf as big as an elephant, covered in black fur, and had huge fangs. It was charging towards the hill, as if it knew there were humans hiding inside the hill. Feeling the braving devil chi from the 3-headed wolf coming in succession, it was evident that this beast was very formidable. While the 3-headed wolf was still far in the distance, it suddenly opened its mouth, and a black chi suddenly broke out, along with an oppressive pressure. Chen Shang hastily shouted, "Everyone hide, open the large formation." Everyone also knew the 3-headed wolf was very terrifying. As the three jaws full of sharp fangs were pointed towards the hill, black chi violently surged from its mouth, while the soaring evil chi frightened the hell out of everyone. When the three-headed wolf appeared, Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulin had already completed the preparation to open the large formation. Seeing the three-headed wolf attacking, they immediately opened the large formation while everyone hid inside the hill. Very strong, extreme state strength. Chen Shang said with a dignified look. Can't we deal with it if we fight together? Yun Xiaodao asked in a surprised tone. He knew Chen Shang was very formidable. Last time, he had seen with his own eyes how Chen Shang blasted an elder of the 9th level of the true martial realm. Chen Shang shook his head. Devil beasts and humans are different, not to mention devil beast, ordinary profound beasts too are all very formidable. Extreme state martial artists are also nevertheless the same, the 9th level true martial realm and extreme state are worlds apart. The beasts equivalent to humankind's true martial realm were called spirit beasts, and extreme state were called profound beasts. It was said that the profound beasts were able to speak, and there were some beasts which even cultivated some humankind martial techniques and were equally strong. The strength of the devil beast in front was equivalent to that of a profound beast. Moreover, it was also in possession of frightening devil chi, not to mention it was a devil beast transformed from the mutated ancient three-headed wolf. It seems fleeing is our only option. Chen Shang heaved a long sigh. If he wasn't forced, he wouldn't want to make everyone flee, because they would have to face the unknown dangers of the southern wasteland. Although the altar was destroyed, what was there in the depths of the southern wasteland, neither he nor anyone knew. In short, even if the altar was destroyed, it didn't mean that the southern wasteland was safe. Just looking at the rushing three-headed wolf, it was clear that there were a large number of frightening devil beasts hiding in here. Boom, boom, boom. 3 ear-piercing explosions suddenly rang, but it only caused the hill to shook a little. It was all because of the protection of the large formation. However, the energy of the large formation would be consumed sooner or later. This guy's attack is rather strong. In just a short span of time, half of the energy of the formation had been consumed. Just as Shui Shenxian finished speaking, yet another explosion rang, and the magnitude of the shock was rather large compared to before. Chen Shang fiercely shouted, "Quickly to the tunnel, I'll stop this guy." Once again, there was another attack, and it was again followed by 3 bangs. The top of the hill had already disappeared, and a very big dormer was opened in everybody's residence. They were almost finished with this attack. Everyone, in a neat and tidy manner, quickly entered the tunnel. Chen Shang, after releasing vermilion bird firewings, suddenly leapt up into the sky and waved the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade towards the three-headed wolf from afar. An azure aura with a strong powerful chi flashed out from the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, and struck the beast with hundreds of thousands of jin of impact. Brother Shang, brother, elder brother Chen. Quote. Suddenly, from below, many shouts came. They all knew Chen Shang was going to block the three-headed wolf. Don't talk nonsense, you quickly leave with the others, I'll handle it. Leave quickly, Chen Shang shouted. A while ago, his blade strike had struck on three-headed wolf. However, a layer of black mist suddenly appeared on its body, directly resisting that powerful blow. The three-headed wolf was much stronger than Chen Shang had imagined. After 9 continuous blows from it, the large formation was broken off. Originally, when the formation was laid, Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulin had said that it could resist the attack of an extreme state martial artist for a while. Quickly leave, Chen Shang started shouting. A hint of anger was evident in his voice. Although Shui Shenxian and the others were very reluctant, seeing Chen Zhang's furious appearance, they could only clench their teeth and step deep into the tunnel. Everyone's heart was heavy. They all knew that the three-headed wolf was very strong, and they were very worried about Chen Shang. If they didn't enter the southern wasteland, many people would still misunderstand Chen Shang. However, now all of them had nothing but admiration for Chen Shang. They all held him in deep respect. To say Chen Shang was a hero was not an exaggeration. What Chen Shang had done after entering here was all for the entire Chenwu mainland. At the same time, the three-headed wolf opened its 3 huge jaws, forming 3 black energy balls filled with destruction. 2 of which were shot towards that broken-off hilltop, but the other was shot towards Chen Shang. Its speed was actually as fast as light. But although Chen Shang was in the air, his speed was still fast as he fiercely swooped down, dodging that black ball filled with evil chi. After the hill was struck by the black ball, it only shook for a while, but after the second blow, it immediately disappeared. Only after taking such frightening attacks successively was the large formation completely destroyed. It could be seen how fearsome the large formation was, and Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulan laying out this kind of formation with their current strength was already good. Chen Shang had just dodged the black ball, but he knew that with that kind of fearsome power, if he was a little bit slow a moment ago, he would have definitely been finished off. He was completely sure of it. Even if a 9th level true martial realm martial artist was struck, he would instantly vanish in a puff of smoke. The three-headed wolf before his eyes was truly too fearsome. Long Shui, with her divine sense, knew that everyone was already deep inside the tunnel, so she told Chen Shang, which made Chen Shang suddenly heave a sigh of relief. "This guy seems to be coming at you," Long Shui said. "But why did he attack the hill?" Chen Shang asked. "We have been concealing our whereabouts well, how did this guy find us?" Long Shui didn't have to answer, because they heard a grim laughter coming from far away. "Chen Shang, don't think that if you hide here, we will not know. You have ruined our good work, we will definitely make all of you die here. This devil beast is from the ancient period and came from the devil domain, and just news of its appearance would make everyone cower in fear. You have already seen its strength a while ago. Ha ha." Hearing these words, Chen Shang immediately understood, the three-headed wolf was intentionally released by them. Furthermore, it was being used by these devil sect disciples. At the moment, he couldn't help but start to worry, if there were many of this kind of beast, wouldn't it be very dangerous? "You cannot escape. You have underestimated us, ha ha," the man said while grinning, before entering the forest. The tunnel led to a very faraway forest. Now, Chen Shang just wanted to lead the three-headed wolf away, lest the three-headed wolf attack them from the distance. Regarding Shui Shenxian and the others, he was not very much worried. As long as they all worked together against the enemy, their overall strength would be strong enough. The three-headed wolf wagged its tail. With its 6 huge red pupils, it was watching Chen Shang, waiting for any of his movement. From time to time, it would lick its huge fangs with its black tongues. Seeing one of the tongues suddenly stretched out, Chen Shang fiercely brandished his blade, and in the blink of an eye, he had already cleaved it 10 times, shooting out 10 powerful spiral qi. One after another, it landed on the black qi cover released by the three-headed wolf. Those 10 powerful spiral qi landed almost at the same time. As they blasted out with continuous impact, they even broke the qi cover of the three-headed wolf, before the remaining 2 powerful spiral qi struck on the middle of beast's head. The three-headed wolf suddenly let out howl as it fiercely opened its 3 jaws. Very quickly, it gathered 3 black balls again and shot all of them at Chen Shang. Chapter 256, Heart-Rending Strike. Chapter 256 Heart-Rending Strike. Chen Shang had already landed on the ground, but after seeing the 3 black balls shot over, he immediately moved in a high speed. In a blink of an eye, he suddenly vanished as he dodged those 3 black balls that were as tall as him. The 3 black energy balls were as frightening as a meteorite. From far away, it shot directly close to the ground and drew out 3 deep ditches on the ground. "That was close," Chen Shang said in his heart. The three-headed wolf's attack was very frightening and very fast. He was worried whether or not he would be able to dodge the next time. He immediately started dashing in a specific direction. A moment ago, after his attack landed on the three-headed wolf, the three-headed wolf had become furious. The three-headed wolf, after seeing Chen Shang instantly running far away, immediately took a step with those 4 huge limbs, before it quickly gave chase to Chen Shang. Such a big beast's running speed was not slow at all. Its steps even shook the ground, causing slight tremors with roiling sound. However, it was too big after all, and even though its speed was fast, it still wasn't capable of matching Chen Zhang's speed. After seeing the three-headed wolf's attack from far away a moment ago, Chen Shang thought that its speed was not too quick, and now the truth concurred with his guess. In the blink of an eye, Chen Shang had crossed a high mountain, but what made Chen Shang speechless was that the three-headed wolf was actually too lazy to climb. It just directly blew a passage at the foot of the mountain. Under the chase, the three-headed wolf attacked Chen Shang many times, but every time, Chen Shang dodged them. Nevertheless, after Chen Shang dodged each of its attacks, he would be struck with a lingering fear, because he knew that if he slacked even a little bit, he would vanish in a puff of smoke. Is this guy planning to chase me to death? Humph, can still sense me. Chen Shang snorted. He entered a lush forest and converged his breath while the three-headed was still far away. But in no time, it still found his location and directly chased him down. Once Chen Shang was in sight, those 3 heads once again shot those 3 powerful and destructive black balls. This is not good. This guy is going to pester me to death. If this continues, I'll be hit sooner or later. You quickly think of a way to help me. Although Chen Shang could lead the three-headed wolf up to this point, he himself still had to face perilous path. This scenario was rather dangerous. We are still thinking, you endure for a while. Su Meiyao said, her voice was also very solemn. After every black energy ball shot, this guy's strength will weaken. However, it has a huge reserve of devil qi in its body, and in order to consume it completely, at the very least, you need to make it shoot those black energy balls for a whole day. Chen Shang ran in the forest, treading along a winded route, lest he would be easily hit by the three-headed wolf's attacks. One whole day, Chen Shang complained in his heart. Little dragon, if you lend me your power, will it be enough? Chen Shang asked. No idea, but if we tried it, then it will certainly be dangerous. It seems that this guy can only shoot these black energy balls as its attacks. As for defense, it only has that black chi cover. If you are closer to it, maybe it could not use those black balls to attack you, because it will be afflicted too. Long Shui said. Chen Shang had also thought of this, and now he was considering whether to give it a try or not. You can give it a try. This guy's weak point is its heart, as well as that consciousness controlling its soul. Isn't the breaking soul cut in the Dragon Slayer's 7 killing cut specializes in attacking the soul? You first destroy the consciousness in its soul, and afterwards, it will experience a burst of excruciating pain. By that time, use the heart-rending strike in the 7 killing cut to give a painful blow to the heart. Bai Yu said. Long Shui tenderly laughed and said, if you use the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade with my power, it will be a lot more stronger. You should be able to smoothly kill this guy. Chen Shang already felt a warm heat flowing from his arm. Long Shui had already begun giving her power to Chen Shang. As it flowed into his body, it entered his dantian and fused into the 5 elements true qi. Long Shui's true qi was very mystical. Chen Shang could also not understand what this power was, which could very easily fuse with his 5 elements true qi, and also allow him to flexibly use, as if it was his own power. Long Shui had eaten no small amount of dans, and she herself was a dragon. As for how much she has grown, Chen Shang simply had no idea, he only knew her advantages were too many to count. Last time, he had only used her power for just one thrust, however, now she was infusing her power completely into his body, and he felt himself incomparably stronger. As Chen Shang let out a howl, his body quivered. Along with the sudden disintegration of his clothes which revealed his strong muscles, a white dragon on his left arm was twinkling in white light, looking very peculiar. At this time, 3 black balls were once again shot over. Although Chen Shang had obtained such a strong power, he didn't meet with the attack head-on. On the contrary, he leapt into the air and flipped past the 3 black balls, dodging the attacks. At the same time, he had arrived above the three-headed wolf. The three-headed wolf looked at Chen Shang in the sky, but did not attack. In fact, a sliver of fear appeared in those 6 huge eyes on its 3 heads, because it felt a very intense dragon qi. Only those who had dragon blood flowing in their body could have such an imposing manner, and that was also what most beasts were afraid of. Seeing the three-headed wolf below him was not attacking, Chen Shang grabbed the opportunity. He clenched the blade hilt and operated the exercises. His divine sense suddenly surged into the blade body, before he fiercely sent a slash below. Although separated by far, Chen Shang could sense a divine sense congealed into a peculiar powerful qi after being shot from the blade tip. In a blink of an eye, it landed on the three-headed wolf, easily piercing through the black qi cover as soon as it hit. At the same time the blow landed, the three-headed wolf let out a furious howl, which was then followed by a desolate howl. It opened its 3 jaws, which simultaneously howled while also spewing out a genuine black fierce gale, blowing away the giant trees in front of it. Chen Shang landed on the ground, mobilized a large part of his true qi and gathered it inside the blade body. A moment ago, he had used soul-crushing cut, a kind of soul attack, and now he was preparing to use the heart-rending strike to attack its heart. In the Dragon Slayer's 7 killing cut, these 2 strikes were rather silent, unlike those other attacks which generate rather large movements. If he didn't have Long Shui's aid, perhaps his soul-crushing cut would have failed to pierce through the black qi cover, and even if it did pierce through, it would still have no way to struck its soul. Chen Shang stood beside the three-headed wolf, and as he closed his eyes, the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade started absorbing his power in madness. In his front, 3 thumping things appeared. They were the 3 hearts of the three-headed wolf. They were all linked together, but there was a layer of black mist enshrouding from the outside. Chen Shang was surprised in his heart. He didn't expect that his divine sense would suddenly become so strong that he could directly see the situation inside the three-headed wolf's body. Soon he realized it was all due to Long Shui's strength, and now he was extremely shocked by Long Shui's divine sense, because it could actually achieve this point. He finally understood why Long Shui's perception was so accurate. Chen Shang could not only see those three giant beating hearts, he could also see a huge black crystal inside its huge body, storing energy. The larger the crystal, the more energy it could store, but as for humans, they store the true qi in their dantian by creating a transparent ball, constantly gathering and compressing the true qi. Quick, Long Shui shouted, once you kill this guy, its devil elemental nuclei is yours. After taking it, turn into a bird and fly away. A lot of power had been infused into the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, while the three-headed wolf was still growling in madness, suffering pain from the soul. A blade calmly and silently hacked down. This was the mystic of the heart-rending strike. Chen Shang took a long deep breath. At this time, he heard a muffled sound coming from inside the three-headed wolf's body. Suddenly, the three-headed wolf stopped roaring as it fell on the ground. It struggled for a bit, before it ceased any movement. Chapter 257, Devil Elemental Nuclei. Chapter 257 Devil Elemental Nuclei. After the three-headed wolf was killed, Long Shui's power left his body, leaving a sudden jolt of pain throughout his body as he almost slumped onto the ground. He was left with not a least bit of strength. This was the serious aftereffects of using too much of Long Shui's power. He knew it was detrimental to his body, and if not as a last resort, he could not use Long Shui's power. Moreover, he also couldn't use it too frequently, or he would ruin his body. Stunned to do what? Quickly go and cut this guy's stomach, and take out the devil elemental nuclei from inside. Long Shui hastily shouted. At the moment, not to mention moving and cutting open the three-headed wolf's abdomen, Chen Shang couldn't even raise his blade at all. I can't move, Chen Shang powerlessly replied. Idiot, don't you have mana? Long Shui let out a tender snort. Chen Shang shook his head with a wry smile. He had indeed forgotten that very fact. Although his body was sore and lacking in power, he still had divine sense, and he could still release mana. He operated the 9-turn dragon god technique, transformed the divine sense into mana, and let it flow throughout his body. In this way, he could control his body through the mana. He first ate a white jade dan, before taking a true elemental dan. Only after he had eaten those did he float it over to the three-headed wolf. At this moment, he had recovered a lot. He took out the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, then slashed the three-headed wolf's huge body. The azure dragon slaughtering devil blade was very sharp. It very easily cut open a big hole at the abdomen of the three-headed wolf, before those disgusting enthralls flushed out from the inside. Fortunately, Chen Shang reacted rather quickly, or else he would have drowned in those enthralls. Very soon, a round black crystal as tall as him came into his view. Although it was black in color, it was exuding a rather pure aura. This was the embodied energy of the beast's innate cultivation talent, and it was very much the same as a human's true qi. Once this huge devil elemental beast nuclei came out, and after being exposed to the sunlight, its surface actually cracked open. Piece by piece, black hard shells fell off. On the inside, the crystal was rather white. To be precise, it was filled with white aura, containing huge energy which was rather incomparably pure. Quickly collect it and leave here. This guy's corpse is of no use, the devil qi is too dense. Long Shui urged. After Chen Shang collected the huge devil elemental beast nuclei, he quickly left the place. On one side, he was running, while on the other, he was swallowing dans. Does this thing have any use? Chen Shang asked. Of course, this is in fact equivalent to a profound beast's core. You're asking if it's useful. This is the energy source of the three-headed wolf. With this thing, you can increase your true qi at much faster rate. Su Meiyao replied. Chen Shang hid in a patch of a forest and rested for a whole day. After resting till he had almost recovered, he left the forest and returned back to that hill. Chen Shang had guessed early, before the Devil Path sect entered here, the three-headed wolf had already been tampered with by the Deans. That was why these Devil Path disciples could control the three-headed wolf. That should be the case. These guys do not dare to capture two strong devil beasts, otherwise, these devil sect disciples would not be able to control them. That should be the extent of the devil sect disciples' control over the three-headed wolf. Bai Yuyu said. From another point of view, the southern wasteland can be considered as a treasure trove. There should be many kinds of fierce devil beasts. Chen Shang lamented endlessly. If each beast had the devil elemental nuclei, and if they were all collected, one would absolutely make a fortune. Chen Shang, while flying in the sky, saw a large group of humans on an empty plain. They were all his companions. Not good. Chen Shang, with one glance, noticed that a lot among them had suffered injuries. At this moment, groups of devil beasts and human devils swoop upon them one by one. His companions were being surrounded by almost 100 devil sect disciples, controlling a bunch of attacking devil beasts and human devils. The injured were surrounded in the middle. Majority of the first or second level true martial realm disciples had suffered injuries, and the others were all attacking those suicidal devil beasts and human devils, pouncing over with all their might. Each and every one of them were all covered in black blood, they had bloodshot eyes, and it was evident that all of them were equally tired. Their surroundings were all littered with corpses, which had already began stinking, yet there were still many human devil and beast devils surrounding them. At the moment, they were very well aware that if this went on, they would be left with no strength to fight back anymore. Many white hairs of Leng Yulin were covered in black blood. She had not stopped waving the giant sword in her hand, and with each strike of her strike, she would behead a good several enemies. Chen Shang started to frown tightly. From afar, he could see that those human devils and devil beasts were all relatively stronger, and even their numbers were too many to count. In that piece of plain, Shui Shenxian and the others were tightly surrounded. Those killing the most fiercely were Leng Yulin, Shui Shenxian, Hao Dongqing and Yun Xiaodao. They were the most violent people, especially Shui Shenxian. Usually, she would appear to be very gentle and quiet, like an otherworldly fairy, but the moment she began killing these devil beasts, she was like a goddess of slaughter, same as Leng Yulin, who wouldn't even bat an eye while killing her adversaries, yet appearing incomparably elegant. Lei Xianglin, Lei Zhang and Lian Mingdong had just entered the true martial realm not long ago, so they were already injured. Wu Qianqin on the other hand, had released her powerful flames, creating a huge flame and forcing back those devil beasts who were thinking of surrounding them. Those human devils wore black robes, had a mask on their faces and dressed the same with those devil sect disciples. Although they were hidden among the crowd, Chen Shang could still see who was who, and to his surprise, there were more than 90 devil sect disciples. Chen Shang sneered as he fiercely landed from the sky. Although he had already retracted the vermilion bird fire wings, his back was still basking in flames. He looked like a meteorite falling from the sky that had fiercely dropped down on the ground. He stepped on a devil sect disciple's shoulder, and when this kind of terrifying impact suddenly befell upon that devil sect disciple, it made him unable to react as he instantly became a meatloaf and sank into the ground. Chen Shang was already within the depths of the thousands of devil beasts and human devils. When the other devil sect disciples saw Chen Shang, they were all extremely shocked. In accordance to what they had seen, Chen Shang should have been hunted down by the three-headed wolf, but now he was back. As for Shui Shenxian and the others, after seeing Chen Shang had returned safely, all heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were all extremely excited, and their attacks suddenly turned even more intense, forcing those devil beasts and human devils surrounding them into continuous retreat. Chen Shang landed on the ground, and from his body, intense flames burst out. Suddenly, the flames spread out, forcing those human devils and devil beasts to retreat a few steps back. None of them dared to touch his flames, otherwise, they would all be burned to death. On his back, a pair of tens of Zhonglong vermilion bird firewing appeared as he grinningly said, "Devil Path Mongrels, try Father's new move." As he spoke, he started rotating his body. The huge firewings, rotating in such a way, suddenly transformed into a tornado made of fire, and of very frightening flames at that, the king among the flames, the heavenly sun fire. While Chen Shang rotated in madness, those firewings grew longer and longer, thereby turning the fire tornado bigger and bigger. In just a short moment, a good hundreds of devil beasts and human devils were drawn in and burned off inside the tornado. As for Chen Shang, he was still releasing the vermilion bird true chi madly. Everyone, after seeing such a huge fire tornado suddenly appear, could not help but be shocked. They recognized Chen Zhang's flames, however, this trick of Chen Shang was rather too frightening. To their astonishment, it was cruel as well as spectacular. Younger brother Chen is too abnormal. Once he arrived, he had actually killed so many. Zhu Rong exclaimed. Shui Shenxian, after being surprised, hastily shouted, "Those who have even a little bit of strength left should protect the injured. Pave a way through the enemies, let's quickly leave." Everyone knew that it was also more convenient for Chen Shang, as he could drew in all the devil creatures in the huge tornado. Through that, he could annihilate these devil creatures in one fell swoop. Chapter 258, Foregone Conclusion. Chapter 258 Foregone Conclusion. If Chen Shang had not stridden into the 5th level of the true martial realm, coupled with his vigorous true qi, he would also not dare to face these devil beasts and human devils in such a way. Chen Shang released all of his true qi, which was comparable to someone in the 7th level true martial realm. The strongest among these devil sect disciples were in the 5th level. Furthermore, those stronger such as Wei Hongdao had been beheaded long ago. Because of Chen Zhang's sudden appearance, these devil sect disciples were sent into disarray. They had no time to pay attention to Shui Shenxian and the others, they were just thinking of escaping. However, they felt a powerful force pulling them as they were whirled off their feet and slowly pulling them into that huge flaming tornado. Chen Shang cultivated in Shinto. Furthermore, his divine soul had already entered the adolescent stage. God knows how powerful his divine sense was. With his divine sense, he could actually lock those devil sect disciples. Chen Shang released the invisible and colorless universe true qi which binded those disciples, making them unable to escape or resist. Very soon, Shui Shenxian and the others had left the plane. Although a few devil sect disciples were controlling those devil beasts and human devils tried to attack them, the instant they swooped over, they were all sucked away, eventually being drawn into the ever-growing tornado of flame. After everyone went far enough, Chen Shang let out a shout and released the Azure Dragon True Qi. It was the wooden attributed True Qi, with wind and lightning power, which made the tornado's wind force even more stronger and added lighting to the mighty tornado. At this moment, there were even flashes of lightning throughout it. Those human devils and devil beasts who were sucked into the tornado, were teared apart by the wind, burnt by flames, and struck by lightning, all at the same time. It was like a purgatory, thus Chen Shang gave it a suitable name, Purgatory Tornado. This tornado was growing until it reached 1,000 zhang high. It whirled there, like a giant rotating mountain. This was the effect of Chen Shang releasing both his Azure Dragon True Qi and the Vermilion Bird True Qi insanely. One should know, the move he had casted was based upon some essential principles of the Tai Chi subduing dragon exercise, especially this kind of suction force. It was very formidable. The plane was originally completely full of corpses, however, now these corpses had been sucked away by the purgatory tornado. After the devil sect disciples were locked in by the suction force, the power within all of their bodies turned chaotic, making them unable to use their strength. Their bodies were gradually being whittled away as they whirled inside the purgatory tornado. Shui Shenxian and the others, seeing from far away, had all their mouth agape one by one. Chen Zhang's strength was already beyond their imagination, although this kind of true qi had not reached the extreme state. However, Chen Shang had rather casted a frightening martial technique. The power bursted out had rather made them feel shocked. The better the martial technique was, the more incisively the power of true qi could be unleashed. Moreover, it could allow one to transcend their normal strengths, and better use the true qi. Lang Yulan lightly sighed. Elder brother is truly formidable, I have to become stronger. Shui Shenxian nodded her head. We cannot drag him down. If it wasn't for him, we would have already been sacrificed. Everyone signed again and again with emotion. If not for Chen Shang, they could not imagine what could have happened to them. It may not have been long before they were captured. In particular, those friends of Chen Shang were feeling a great pressure. They have all been role models along with Chen Shang, but now they found the difference between them and Chen Shang was getting bigger and bigger. This made them all swear in their hearts that as soon as they returned, they would cultivate with all their effort and elevate their strength to catch up to him. Even Zhu Rong, this lazy guy, was also having such ideas, let alone the others. I heard once in a while, the righteous sects will hold a grand meeting. At that time, all the major sects will gather together for a grand competition. It seems there is still some time left. Lang Yulan clenched her jade-like fists as she spoke. Zhu Rong laughed and said, yes, it is said the final victor will receive many rich rewards. This is once-in-a-century grand meeting. I will definitely be able to compete against elder brother in the grand meeting. Lang Yulan firmly said. Yun Xiaodao touched his nose and said, elder brother Chen has such a younger sister, I don't know whether it is a blessing or a curse. While Shui Shenxian was watching that spectacular fire tornado, a glint flashed through her pretty eyes. She tenderly laughed and said, I also want to compete with brother Shang, however, for now we should take a step back. We are simply not in the same level. At this point everyone was stimulated, they all secretly inspired themselves. They needed to blossom with radiant splendor in the grand meeting and at the very least close the wide gap between Chen Shang and themselves. The plain had already been emptied of corpses. That being said, mournful wails still came out from inside the fire tornado one after another, so Chen Shang kept on releasing his azure dragon and vermilion bird True Qi. After a while, finally finished. Ha ha, we won. The instant Chen Shang started laughing, the fire tornado also disappeared. A large amount of white ash began falling down accompanying his laughter. This was all what was left after those devil beasts, human devils, and devil sect disciples were processed in the tornado. Looking at the man fluttering those huge firewings while letting out heroic laughter, everyone felt extremely excited. One by one, people rushed over and burst into cheering and shouting. Chen Shang landed on the ground. Seeing everyone was all right, he let loose a sigh of relief before Shui Shenxian threw herself into his embrace, hugging him tightly. Before, when she saw Chen Shang risking himself to lure away the three-headed wolf, she was extremely worried. She had no idea what she would do if she lost Chen Shang. Shenxian, when you started killing you scared the shit out of me. Chen Shang mischievously laughed while touching Shui Shenxian's face. Chen Shang was obviously aware Shui Shenxian being very worried about him. Shui Shenxian wiped her falling tears and revealed a smile capable of causing the downfall of nations. The danger had already passed, everyone was also feeling relaxed. There were some who could not help but lie down on the ground while looking at the sky, and open their mouths to breath in the fresh air. Chen Shang released a burst of water from his hands, wiping away the black blood stains on Leng Yulin's white hair, and helped her clean those eye-catching bloodstains. Shui Shenxian also liked Leng Yulin's beautiful white hairs very much. Shui Shenxian also helped in washing Leng Yulin's hair, which made her feel warm in her heart. Little rascal Yun, if you are that good to my sister, as a brother, I will be relieved. Zhu Rong gave a contemptuous glance to Yun Xiaodao. Yun Xiaodao spat in response, "Ku, how about you tell your younger sister to be gentler to me, that woman is a tigress. However, since you are her brother, this father is too lazy to manage her." Zhu Rong sighed, "You are so screwed. I'm going tell everything you said word by word to my sister. That being said, you always boast you are extremely formidable, I didn't expect you to be afraid of a girl. You're really a coward, ha ha ha." Everyone overheard their conversation and also burst into laughter. It must be known that Zhu Rong and Yun Xiaodao were both disciples from the four major families of the extreme martial province. Moreover, they had also entered in the true martial realm at such a young age. This kind of identity was quite prominent in the Qinwu mainland, so their reputation was not small. With the waves of hearty laughter, the haze that had been enshrouding their hearts for past few days had been removed. The altar had been destroyed, all the devil sect disciples had been killed, and the majority of the devil beasts and human devils had been burnt to white ash. So long as any of the powerful beings in the depths didn't come out, they would all remain very safe in here. However, just in case, Chen Shang and everyone else decided to choose a new place to stay. They quickly established a guarding point which could attack, defend, as well as allow them to escape quickly. If their preparations had not been adequate last time around, they could have been exterminated by the three-headed wolf. After a few days, the wounded were mostly recovered. In addition to a few sentries guarding the camp, others hid in the stone rooms inside the mountain to cultivate. After what they went through before, they all knew they were lacking a lot in personal strength. At this time, everyone had a single mindset to become stronger and were all incredibly diligent. Chapter 259, Perishing Golden Body. Chapter 259 Perishing Golden Body. Chen Shang also spent nearly every day inside the stone room cultivating. But from time to time, he would go out and chat with everyone. He needed to grasp this time to consolidate his foundation. His strength had advanced by leaps and bounds in the southern wasteland, but haste made waste and going too fast was not always good. Unknowingly, the time passed and everything remained very calm. There would be occasional waves of cold wind blowing from the depths, but everyone were all same as they were in the past. Those who were sentry were patrolling as usual today and those who were cultivating as usual. However, with the sudden arrival of a bizarre aura, everyone was disturbed. "Quickly take a look," one of the sentry at the hilltop exclaimed. A few disciples who came out of the caves quickly looked towards a giant mountain. The southern wasteland was currently surrounded by a giant mountain, like piercing through the heavens. Even Chen Shang could not fly and leave this place. However, at this time that giant mountain gradually started turning transparent. 2 months have passed. Zhu Rong shouted in excitement. He had almost gone mad from staying in this place, now he could finally leave. The giant mountain disappeared and the canyon through which they had entered once again appeared. Everyone became excited and burst into cheers. Finally we can leave this ghastly place. Yun Xiaodao laughed and directly jumped down. At this time, everyone gathered together and were all still very alert. This was a habit they had developed these days. All who had entered the southern wasteland made a great progress, especially in regards to their battle experience. While vigilant of their surrounding, everyone walked towards the canyon. Past the canyon, nothing had occurred, but there were more than a dozen people in front of the canyon entrance. They were all tycoons from the major righteous and devil sects in the Chenwu mainland. Seeing so many people coming out, these tycoons could not help but feel surprised. Although they had not entered, they felt the oncoming fluctuations from inside during these days they were outside. It had even made their heart jump and some even shuddered with fear. They believed with this kind of premonition no one would come out. There were only 40 righteous disciples who had come out. Seeing this, an old man of the beast martial sect hastily asked, "Where are our disciples? Have you seen them?" The proud sword sect's dean also asked, "Quickly speak, why haven't my proud sword sect's disciples come out?" Both of their tones were not very polite and made Chen Shang and the others feel very disgusted. Only Chen Shang dismissively said, "All dead, they have been killed by this father." As those words of Chen Shang came out, those tycoons all became extremely shocked, even the deans of the devil sects were amazed. Lu Menger looked at Chen Shang with a frown and with a look of blame in her eyes. Yet even more so, a very worried expression on her face. The same was true for Hua Shangyu, although both of them were rather silent, they were both extremely worried. "What did you say?" The dean of the proud sword sect had already begun lifting his palm. Just as he was about to slap down, Ji Yu Dongchen coldly shouted, "Yu Zhonglin, if you dare to make a move on him, I will destroy your proud sword sect." While speaking, Ji Yu Dongchen's whole body glistened in golden aura. His body looked as if has been carved out of gold, and that endless imposing manner pressing down on Chen Shang and the others made it difficult for them to breathe. The tycoons from the other sects had a look of shock, they gazed at gold-like Ji Yu Dongchen in astonishment. Those devil sect deans had an even more panic-stricken appearance. This is the perishing golden body obtained by crossing the seventh tribulation of the Nirvana realm. I didn't expect the extreme martial sect's dean to be so strong, he has already arrived at this level. Su Meiyao exclaimed. The proud sword sect's dean, Yu Zhonglin, immediately retracted his arm. He knew he was not a match for Ji Yu Dongchen. Ji Yu Dongchen returned to his original appearance and coldly said, "I already warned you that if your sect disciples dare to make a move on Chen Shang, I'll destroy your sect. Do you still want to ask what happened?" Although Yu Zhonglin was harboring fire in his heart, he had not lost his reasoning. He knew there must be some reason behind it, most likely their proud sword sect's disciples made the first move. If he continued asking, Chen Shang would definitely announce that the proud sword sect's and the beast martial sect's disciples made the first move. Then Ji Yu Dongchen would certainly go and exterminate the proud sword sect and the beast martial sect to fulfill his promise. After they came to learn of Ji Yu Dongchen's true strength, they were all extremely afraid. Not to mention the elder courtyard of the extreme martial sect, Ji Yu Dongchen alone could wipe them out. Yu Zhongling and the elder of the beast martial sect immediately turned around and flew away. They did not want to see their sects exterminated because of them. "Don't be too proud, our people have still not come out," a devil sect tycoon said. There were a total of 5 devil sects, so there were 5 of them here. They were all extremely doubtful in their hearts, in accordance with their plans, and with the ambushes laid inside, not even one of the righteous sect's disciples should have come out. Plus, their disciples should have opened the altar, and communicated with the god of the devil domain. No need to wait, they have all been killed by me. Chen Shang suddenly took out 10 or so heads and threw them down on the ground. His voice suddenly turned cold as he began narrating the things that had been conspired on the inside, and the earth-shaking conspiracy from the Devil Path disciples. Other disciples also nodded one by one to prove what Chen Shang had said was indeed true. The more those righteous tycoons listened, the uglier and colder their complexions became. If this plan had come to fruition, the consequences were unimaginable. That great calamity had yet to arrive. If it did, then the Chenwu mainland would probably have been turned into a living purgatory in the human world. Do you have anything else to say? Ji Yu Dongchen's complexion turned ugly. The same was true for other deans, because they had been mistaken about Devil Path sect and almost killed their own sect's disciples. Black smoke full of foul stench suddenly broke out from these devil sect deans. It's poisonous, Hua Shangyu hastily shouted. She lightly brushed her jade-like palm and blew a gale, accompanied with a herb fragrance which went inside everyone's nose. Those guys are running away. The kiss of the jade dragon was already clasped in Lu Menger's hands. Ji Yu Dongchen let out a cold snort before his body was covered in golden light and he disappeared. I'll make them pay. Chen Shang took a glance at Hua Shangyu. He found this cutesy alluring woman's strength was rather marvelous. At the very least, she was also in Nirvana realm. Otherwise she would not have been so calm a moment ago. One must know she was facing several tycoons from the major devil path sects. After these tycoons came to know Chen Shang had turned the tide and ruined the devil path's plan, all of them were extremely surprised. Chen Shang had done a very meritorious deed, he had rescued the entire Chenwu mainland. In the end, this matter cannot be let loose to the public, lest the power inside was controlled by someone with evil intention. Ji Yu Dongchen said. Hua Shangyu nodded her head and arrived beside Chen Shang. With her tender and soft beautiful hands she touched Chen Zhang's handsome cheek and charmingly smiled. You are the reason our Danxiang Taoyuan's disciples could survive, how can I thank you? Seeing such a move from Hua Shangyu, Lu Menger, Shui Shenxian, Leng Yulan suddenly tenderly spat in their hearts. So be it, I'll give you 1,000 true elemental dans. Hua Shangyu tenderly smiled and then handed a storage pouch to Chen Shang. Chen Shang took the storage pouch, with a serious look said, Senior, please note that I have a wife, and on another note, please do not casually make such an ambiguous move on me, so as not to mislead. Everyone heard Chen Shang speaking like that were suddenly stunned. Meanwhile Lu Menger and Hua Shangyu both cursed Chen Shang in their hearts. He could actually be so shameless. They had been molested by Chen Shang before, especially Lu Menger, she was cheaply taken advantage by Chen Shang. Shui Shenxian just let out a light chuckle. Hua Shangyu lightly snorted. If there weren't so many people here, she definitely would have responded with a few sarcastic remarks. Chapter 260, Rewards of the Tycoons. Chapter 260 Rewards of the Tycoons. Regarding the generosity of Hua Shangyu, everyone was feeling rather shocked. 1,000 true elemental dans, that was worth 5 million crystal stones. This made those disciples secretly gulp down their saliva. Chen Shang also didn't thank Hua Shangyu, they had pretty good relations so Hua Shangyu did not say anything. Danxiang Taoyuan is really kind. Chen Shang contemptuously glanced at the tycoons from the other sects, the look in his eyes was telling those deans, you're all cheapskates, the other person is a female and so generous. Only Chen Shang, this kind of guy who kept on calling Ji Yu Dongchen and the others as little martial nephews throughout the day, could toughen up in front of so many tycoons. Seniors, a while ago you had already thanked me. A monetary reward is nothing, I'm already satisfied with the 1,000 true elemental dans from Danxiang Taoyuan. Chen Shang said, his face was brimming with a strange smile. This is a profound fire crystal. You are an alchemist, this can purify your flames even further, I think you should be well aware of its advantages. Take it, Lu Menger tenderly snorted before speaking, she then raised her jade-like hands as she threw a stone glittering in a fiery red light towards Chen Shang. Chen Shang quickly caught it, he was obviously aware of the formidability of the profound fire crystal, it was as precious as an earth-level spirit herb. Other tycoons were once again feeling extremely shocked, Lu Menger was actually willing to gift this kind of thing to Chen Shang. One must know the profound fire crystal's worth was the same as the 1,000 true elemental dans. This reward comes from both the divine weapon Heavenly Empire and the Icewind Valley. Lu Menger added another sentence before letting out another tender snort. Although Lu Menger's tender snort appeared to be a normal response, Hua Shangyu was a woman, and her intuition told her that there was definitely another layer of relation between Lu Menger and Chen Shang from that little clue. Chen Shang mischievously laughed as he received the profound fire crystal. Two women could so generously give out such heavy rewards, which made the hearts of those male deans secretly bleed. The true martial sect's Tang Yichao didn't speak anything, with his sect's 4 disciples, he just marched off, which made the other sect's dean and disciples secretly hold him in contempt. Chen Shang could understand Tang Yichao's mood, after all, several Nirvana realm martial artists from true martial sect had been slaughtered by him. Tang Yichao would kill himself before giving Chen Shang anything, saying thank you was already quite good. Now, only the gentle and refined dean of the Lotus Island was left. He was called Lian Yingxiao. He smiled at Ji Yu Dongchen, before saying, Brother Ji Yu, it must be a headache having such a disciple. While speaking, he took out a fist-sized ball. Seeing this, Hua Shangyu suddenly gave a tender shout, "White Jade Lotus Seed." The white jade lotus seed was on par with the hell spirit grass. Both were sacred herbs which could bring the dead back to life, and regrow one's bones and flesh. Moreover, it was even rarer than the hell spirit grass. After Lien Yingxiao handed it over to Chen Shang, the dean took a glance at Lien Mingdong. Although it was only a glance, Chen Shang still caught the complex look within his eyes, and he was sure that the Lotus Island's master had some relation with Lien Mingdong. "Brother Lien is truly generous, you even took out the soul of your island." Ji Yu Dongchen laughed and said. "That is a given, if not for him, all my Lotus Island's disciples would have probably been killed. Moreover, from now on, we will have to fight with a bunch of ancient devils. Our sect will definitely be affected." Lien Yingxiao slightly smiled and said. "From what I see, you're afraid of being pressed down by a woman." Lu Menjie faintly smiled. She came in front of Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulin and caressed their heads. Chen Shang gave a glance to Ji Yu Dongchen, laughed and said, "Dean, I know our extreme martial sect has a shortage of resources, that's why you don't need to give me anything." Ji Yu Dongchen was surprised for a moment, he secretly started cursing Chen Shang. A while ago, Ji Yu Dongchen was looking at these sect's tycoons with a gloating expression, however, now it was their turn. Although Chen Shang stated it like that, he made it very clear that he wanted something. Chen Shang had repeatedly asked for treasure from those tycoons, which made other disciples become drenched in cold sweat. They were all afraid that Chen Shang would rather anger these powerful old codgers and then slap to death. Chen Shang knew these Dean were all old codgers who had been alive for more than 10,000 years. They definitely had some sort of treasure which they could hand out. He smilingly looked at Ji Yu Dongchen, trying to appear naive and innocent. The onlooking Ji Yu Dongchen could not wait to beat Chen Shang. Ji Yu Dongchen had to bite the bullet and took out a small black bottle. As soon as he took it out, the temperature of the surrounding suddenly soared, many profusely sweat from the sudden change in heat. "What is this?" Chen Shang knew it was definitely marvelous. "During my sixth tribulation of Nirvana realm, it is the collected heavenly heart flame, it should be helpful to your flames." Ji Yu Dongchen said. Lu Menjie and Lien Yingxiao both took in a deep breath. They knew the formidability of the heavenly heart flames, but had not expected Ji Yu Dongchen to be capable of collecting it. This was indeed a top-tier peculiar unique treasure. Su Meiyao and Bai Yu also said it was good stuff, so Chen Shang reluctantly took it. Although only Chen Shang obtained rewards from these deans, those other disciples felt it should be like this. After all, Chen Shang was also their savior, they held nothing but gratitude in their hearts, so they didn't voice out to get anything. All disciples followed their respective deans and left. Ji Yu Dongchen released the disc again, carrying Chen Shang and the others before leaving. During the parting, Shui Shenxian and Leng Yulin both asked Chen Shang to come and find them whenever he had time. They had stayed with Chen Shang for so long that they were content for now. This also gave them chance to see the difference between them and Chen Shang. "We survived and still have fortune left to come, haha." Chen Shang laughed and said. He patted Yun Xiaodao's shoulder. "After we return, we will all be disciples of the King Martial Courtyard, we are the first batch." Everyone immediately got excited. Zhu Rong smiled and said, "We're also bronze disciples and silver warriors, however, we have also suffered a lot. First, those 3 months of special training and then 2 months of suffering in that ghastly place. Don't be too excited, every 3 years there is an assessment in the King Martial Courtyard. Those who are unqualified will be kicked out." Ji Yu Dongchen said with a slightly upturned mouth. This made everyone disappointed in their hearts. Although Lien Mingdong, Lei Xianglin and Lei Zhang had worst strength in this group, this gave them the opportunity to vastly improve. Moreover, they would obtain a ton of benefits. At the very least they had the opportunity to reside in the King Martial Courtyard for 3 years. As long as they grasped this good opportunity, they believed in the coming 3 years they would have improved enough to stay. Very soon, they arrived back at the extreme martial sect. During their time in the southern wasteland, many of them had very much missed their sect. At least in here, they didn't have to live every second and minute in fear. They didn't need to worry about those human devils and devil beasts every waking moment. After returning, all 10 of them did the exact same thing, and that was to get some good rest. In the southern wasteland, they couldn't get a good quantity or quality of sleep. Those true disciples of the extreme martial sect saw these 10 safely return, became secretly jealous in their hearts because these 10 would all obtain very rich rewards. If they had also gone at that time, then maybe right now. However, there was no pill for regret. Not only they did leave a bad impression on the dean and other elders of the sect, they were looked down upon by Chen Shang and the others. Chapter 261, White Jade Lotus Seed.